The story starts with a bullied student wishing for a chance to redo his life. He was always being bullied at school. He didn't have the courage to fight back. He used to hate himself for it. He hated people who turned a blind eye on him, and he hated the bullies just as much as he hated himself. So one day, his wish of redoing his life had come true. He hears a woman's voice, referring him as a messiah. He is in confusion. He tells her his name is Yamato Takaru. He has been summoned to a different world. He has found himself a chance. This new world has a demon lord for which people here suffered a lot. Takaru was skeptical at first, as he could never defy his bullies. How would he put his life on the line to fight the demon lord? However, he develops magic. The saint from this world, Edelweiss, helps him with his magic training. He accepts his new abilities and decides to persevere. And he did it. He gave his absolute best, and as the result of that, he was framed to be a monster. After defeating the demon lord, let alone receiving recognition from the people, he was treated like a monster. The people there urged to unlive him in fear of his power. At execution stage, he regrets that neither in Japan nor in this different world, he could not receive any acceptance, but he was happy seeing at least one person shaded tears for him in his last moment. He thinks to himself that his life must have been a happy one. He wakes up in a modern hospital bed. He thinks if he came back to his original world, Japan, maybe all those 3 years he spent there were just a dream. He tries to sit and sees his shocking reflection in the window. He can't recognize himself because his face has changed. Being shocked, he falls out of bed. He realizes he has several bones fractured. He uses recovery magic on himself, and it works. He realizes that as he can use magic, that world was not just a dream, though he still worries what if he is dreaming now. Then the doctor and boy's mother, in whom Takaru is in, rushes in and hugs him, calling him Takaru. As confused, he asks the mother who might she be? He decides to feign memory loss as he cannot mention about him being bullied. They tell him that he was playing around with some friends on the school rooftop. When the fence broke, he slipped and fell. His doctor asks him if he knows that his name is Kusanagi Takaru. To this he says yes. The doctor is surprised to see that his severe injuries are gone. He says that this is impossible even for a proficient healer. Takaru is taken aback by the fact that if this world has healers, as it is not the other fantasy world he used to live in. Then Takaru's dad comes in. The dad hugs his son, saying, even if he doesn't remember that, he is happy that at least he is alive. Takaru feels that this Kusanagi Takaru is very loved. He embraces their warm hug while remembering the saint from the other world. He doesn't exactly get what is going on now, but he is determined to give Kurosagi Takaru's body back to him. He gets discharged from hospital as he is very healthy. After conducting all sorts of tests, he feels the technologies in the hospital are more futuristic than he knew, but as everyone here speaks Japanese, it must be Japan. There's also cleanliness that he is not used to seeing. Takaru Yamato was from 2000 in Japan. He thinks if he is in a little further in the future here. In the news, he hears it is the end of May in 2040. Takaru is surprised. The news further tells that today, lives had been saved by hunters as well. The hunters are risking their lives to protect civilians. The news shows ogres and goblins-like creatures are fighting humans, who are called hunters. Takaru wonders why they are wreaking havoc here and not the other world. He wonders what are hunters. The father expresses his excitement to be a hunter. Takaru is focused on the news about hunters fighting monsters. He finds it strange that even though it is Japan, it resembles the other world, that they are fighting using magic as if it is normal. At that moment, a sudden gate break appears in the direction their car is heading toward. The car is about to have an accident, but Takaru instinctively uses magic, guard protection, to protect the car from damage. The parents and son get out of the car. The gate break intensifies. Takaru has seen this in that other world before. It looks like a summoning spell. They need to run away. Ogres come out of the gate. Ogres are the monsters that even the kingdom's trained knights needed several of them to take one down. But Takaru thinks if it is him, he can take those down easily, as he can use his skills here too. However, he hesitates to make a move, as standing out too much in the other world is what took his life. Not to mention that this body belongs to someone else. If he stands out in some weird way, when he needs to give this body back to him, it will cause him trouble. He decides to run, but his parents are about to get attacked by an ogre now. Takaru uses an attack spells and unlive the ogre in an instant. As his parents didn't see what has happened, he tells them that a nearby hunter defeated it. He tells them to get away from here quickly. He is glad to save them, but there is a problem. After landing his attack spells, there was another attack spell by someone else. He notices a girl in uniform on a rooftop glaring at him. Takaru feels it can really be a very troublesome matter. On the way to their home on foot, they talk about how lucky they are that, even though their car broke, they've at least survived. It is amazing that there were no casualties. They reach their house and show Takaru his house. Takaru is amazed by their amazing big house. Takaru feels the need to have more information about Kusanagi, as he has to live being him now. He looks over his stuff but doesn't find any diary. He notices a magazine about hunters with many notes in it. He realizes Kusanagi was really into hunters. He seemed to dream of being a hunter too. Takara feels weird that even though he is in Japan, he feels he is not. He finds the strange board called a mobile phone amazing. It is hard to operate, but he needs to learn it. He wonders if using this device too much will cost a lot. Then a message notification pops up which startles him. He is more nervous using this device than fighting demons, because he knows it uses Kusaragi's parents' money. He opens the message after struggling a bit. It is from a boy named Araki, saying that how Kusaragi's attempted to cause the police to go to his place. Araki threatens him that, when he comes to school, he will give him even greater time. Takara realizes he is that kind of friend. Then Araki sends a picture of him boxing. But Takara shouts to stop sending pictures, as he is worried about the costs of sending short messages and pictures. He thinks if it is Araki's way of harassing him. The mom comes in and reassures him that it is okay because they have Wi-Fi. Old school Takara has never heard of Wi-Fi, so he is confused. Mom tells him then that, as he is suffering from amnesia, he doesn't need to attend school for a while. As Takara is in a similar situation as Urashima Taro, who was a fairy tale fisherman, after visiting the underwater palace, he returns after centuries. He uses his time off to look up various things on his phone. He finds that 30 years ago, after he got summoned to the other world, gates connected Earth to another world and monsters started to come out. They started killing people. Modern weapons did not work on these unknown creatures. However, out of nowhere magicians appeared and started fighting the monsters. The magicians began to pass it off as skills that anybody could learn. Magic became an essential subject and people learned to defeat the monsters. Those who studied magic became known as magi, and those that defeated monsters became known as hunters. Their role became dealing with gatekeeps as well as protection of civilians' ordinary lives. Takara goes out for a walk and sees how society has adapted to magic, where almost everyone uses magic in their daily lives. He is still not used to it, as this Japan is so different from the one he's familiar with. It's not like he wants to return to his timeline 40 years ago, but he feels lonely here. Then he hears a scream. A thief snatched a woman's purse and used magic to run faster. Takara uses physical boost magic on himself and runs after the thief. He catches the thief and tells him, if he is trying to run using physical boost, then at least run this fast. Later the woman thanks Takara cordially. He realizes that he was indeed too fast when the woman said this is the first time she saw someone that fast with physical boost. He is nervous that he needs to be more careful. Their granny gives Takara some candy as thanks. It reminds him of his grandma, who used to give him candies for shoulder massage. He thinks to himself that, even if 40 years have passed and a lot of things have changed, but the fundamental aspects have remained the same, and he is glad for it. At night, he is heading home. On his way, Araki, the bully, goes to punch Takara from behind, but he dodges it easily. Araki thinks he was able to dodge it by a flunk. He tells Takara that he would have been glad if Takara didn't ignore his texts. Takara realizes that's the Araki guy from the message. Seeing Takara casually mentioning his name with no honorifics annoyed Araki. He shouts at Takara that it is Araki-kun. Being unfazed, Takara thinks that these kind of things don't change either, no matter the era and world. Araki loudly shouts at him to not call him without respect, tells him to call him Araki-kun. He complains about how because of him, the police went to his house and his father hit him, how bad it was. Takara, staying calm and cool as he is now, thinks to himself that, even after 40 years, there are still guys like him around, and poor Kusaragi also has this problem. In the past, he was afraid of guys like this to the point that he could not do anything. But now he finds fighting dragons more scarier than this. Compared to that, Araki looks like a harmless Maltese yapping at him. Takara feels he has come a long way too, while smiling. Seeing him smile annoys Araki even more and raises his fist to punch him. He thinks about what to do so that he doesn't stand out too much. He thinks of making him fall over by stomping on the ground. Araki runs his mouth saying giving birth to a guy like Takara was a mistake, and his parents too, which ticks Takara off. Takara then lands a hard punch, making him rotate in the midair and falls on the ground. Takara tells him calmly to not badmouth his parents. Araki resorts to using offensive magic while lying on the ground, and suddenly a gate breaks behind Araki. A strong-looking bloody ogre comes out and punches unaware Araki, resulting in him getting hit on a wall hard. He doesn't look dead. Takara thinks that maybe it is because he is a boxer. He is pretty sturdy. Takara decides to take down the ogre in an instant, as there are no passers-by and Araki's out cold. Using physical boost magic, he punches the ogre in the chest, which makes a big hole in its chest. Blood splatters around as a result. It looks like a horror scene now. Dealing with the ogre is done. Now Takara can't just leave the gate alone. He assumes destroying the magic circle might make the gate disappear. It works. Then he hears police horns. He quickly flees from the scene. Takamine Sakura, the S-rank hunter, appears in the scene alongside the police. She is surprised to see someone taking down a bloody ogre in one hit. Not only that, the gate was closed as well. The police officer tells her that, when they arrived, the ogre was already dead. The gate was closed. At the scene, they found a boy collapsed. The boy, Araki, is claiming to have defeated this ogre. Hunter Sakura doesn't believe that, as she can't sense sufficient mana from him to defeat this ogre alone. She thinks of the boy Takaru, who she saw from before, but she quickly brushes it off. She tells the officer that she's returning to the Hunter Association, and to send her the report later. On her way, the people at the scene talk about how cute Sakura is and all. She is thinking about the bloody ogre, that it is a very dangerous monster. It needs several A-rank hunters to deal with it. Faster than her, who was dispatched from the Hunter Association, someone defeated the monster and closed the gate. She wonders if there is a hunter stronger than her. Takaru starts to attend the school Kusaragi goes to. Unexpectedly, Takaru finds this school much more familiar, unlike other things in the city. Even though his parents told him that it was okay not to attend the school now, he insisted, as Kusaragi wouldn't like it if he had to repeat a year because of him. He thinks of how similar Takaru's and Kusaragi's circumstances are, as both of them were used to get bullied in school. However, Takaru managed to get a second chance in a different world. He recalls his sweet moments with the saint in that world. He wishes to create a world where everyone can laugh naturally. Then he quickly comes back to present. It's about time he goes to school now. He feels he can make the first step here, thanks to the saint. Inside his class, the teacher tells others about Kusaragi's situation. As he is having amnesia, everyone needs to help and support him. The students look strangely nervous seeing him. He sits on his desk. He notices that students around him are pretty nervous for some reason. Then Araki comes in the classroom, loudly bragging about how he has defeated a bloody ogre. He notices Kusaragi. Takaru is sitting in his desk. Araki recalls that Takaru saw him getting knocked out by the bloody ogre. Araki then sits on his desk, showing attitude, without bothering Takaru. Takaru decides to ignore him. Takaru's desk mate knocks him to ask if he is okay. Considering he has amnesia, the desk mate introduces himself. He is Sawamura Takuru. He says they often used to talk, as they both like hunters. Takaru is taken aback by the fact that Kusaragi wasn't a complete loner. He did have a friend. Takaru is exhausted from all the studying. He has definitely become stronger both mentally and physically, but his intellect did not change. He wasn't a good student to begin with. He often forgot to study in high school, and above all, Takaru finds it devastating that textbooks are not made of paper anymore. He speaks out that that's how they teach in the future. His desk mate hears it and thinks if that's how amnesia feels like, he will keep that in mind. Sawamura tells him it's a relief that he doesn't feel dejected, rather he seems fine. Takaru tells him there's no point worrying about his amnesia. He then asks Sawamura about what kind of person Kusaragi Takaru is in his eyes. Sawamura says that Kusaragi was the kindest person in the world, with a warm smile on his face. Then 3 bullies, along with Araki, come towards them to bully them. But Araki is surprisingly quiet. A bully mate asks him what has happened to him, and another says if he is afraid of the police. Then Araki makes an annoyed face which scares them. Araki tells them that, like the last case, getting involved with Kusaragi is gonna just be nothing but trouble. They talk about cops being annoying and all. Takaru is completely ignoring them. Then Sawamura asks them if they need help with their studies again. The bullies strangely act friendly with him, which surprises Takaru. They are going to the library to study. Takaru is confused. Sawamura tells him that that's how it is, with a bright smile on his face. Takaru feels something is seriously wrong, judging from other classmates' nervous expressions. There's no way they went to study. Takaru asks a classmate where they went. He mentions it is not the library, then the roof? The nervous classmate tells him that the roof is blocked after Kusaragi's incident. He adds, it is probably the industrial place behind the school. Takaru rushes out thanking him. Seeing this change in Kusaragi, they think it's maybe because of his amnesia. In an industrial place, they are bullying Sawamura. Takaru is there hiding, contemplating on what to do. He doesn't want to change Kusaragi's circumstances too much, so he better avoid to straight going in. Araki mocks Sawamura that he is an idiot, that Sawamura still came with them knowing Kusaragi attempted to unlive himself because of them. Sawamura came with them on his own accord, and that is to protect Kusaragi. But for Takaru, Kusaragi is his top priority. Takaru wants to save Sawamura, but he hesitates. Beaten up Sawamura says that he abandoned Kusaragi, even though he is a friend. He trembles with guilt. He shouts that there's no way he could ask for his help. Sawamura was supposed to be their initial target. He knew Kusaragi was fighting alone on his behalf all this time. But he took advantage of his kindness, even though he is a friend. He says he won't make the same mistake anymore. He is determined to protect Kusaragi this time. Takaru feels a sudden agitation. He realizes that's not from him but Kusaragi. Araki continues to bully Sawamura. Takaru understands why he is feeling this way suddenly. It is Kusaragi's desire to protect Sawamura, and Takaru's first priority is Kusaragi. Takaru goes in front of Sawamura and the bullies. Takaru tells them he is going to play with them next. It is time Takaru and Kusaragi protect Sawamura together. Sawamura is so beaten up that he can't see Kusaragi is standing next to him. He passes out. They mock Sawamura that he can't even endure this much beating. Takaru leans down and heals Sawamura, saying he is strong. Those bullies keep on blabbering, then Takaru punches his face. He falls on the ground. He kicks another bully in the face. The two bullies dash towards him together. Takara grabs their head in an instant and makes them headbutt each other. They roll on the floor in pain. Araki is annoyed that a weakling like Kusaragi is overpowering them. He dashes towards him shouting. Takara grabs his face and smashes his head against the ground. Takara tells him if he doesn't fix his habit of barking, he will annoy other people nearby. Araki seems to be scared of Takaru a bit. The two other bullies get up, use their magic. Takaru is glad that they are making it easy for him by coming at him themselves. One time, in the other world, during the war with the Demon Lord's army, he fell for a lower-class demon's plea to spare him. He let him go, but the village was completely destroyed because of that. The lower-class demon took advantage of his kindness and deceived him. He learned a lesson then. Once you start something like this, you cannot be half-assed. He will make sure that the bullies never do anything hostile. Never again do they dare to approach Sawamura. He will break their will to do so. And at that moment, suddenly a blue gate breaks from inside the wall. Another bloody ogre breaks out from it. The bullies are scared that the ogre is the most dangerous monster. But they feel a bit relieved that Araki is with them, as he has already defeated a bloody ogre yesterday. They urge him to beat it. Araki notices that Takaru is staring at him. To protect his pride, he shouts that ogre is a piece of cake for him and lets out a fireball. The bloody ogre slaps away the puny fireball. It walks towards them and punches Araki. He goes flying. The two other bullies run away with their lives. Then the bloody ogre looks at Takaru. Takaru uses the same magic, fireball. But he's on in another level, creating multiple fireballs, incinerating the ogre and having it completely disappear. Araki calls Kusaragi a monster seeing all that. Takaru walks towards Araki. Scared Araki tells him to not come closer. Takaru sits in front of him and heals him. Then Takaru breaks the floor Araki's lying on in one finger tap. Araki is intimidated by his overwhelming power. Takaru tells Araki to listen. He says that he wants to live peacefully by not standing out. So he tells Araki to claim like last time that he is the one who defeated this ogre and that's all. Araki is flabbergasted by this. Takaru further says it's no problem as there's no eyewitness. And everyone knows that he defeated the ogre from yesterday too anyway. Araki looks away. Takaru then tells him to not ever get himself involved with Kusaragi and Sawamura again. The same goes for the other two as well. He tells him to stop them. And if it happens again, tapping on Araki's forehead with his finger, he hints at what will happen to Araki then. Araki is petrified and puts his head down. Takaru thinks of him like a scared little Maltese. They hear that two other bullies are bringing a hunter. Takaru gets up and takes unconscious Sawamura. He tells Araki to do a good job at deceiving them. At the Hunter Training Technical School, managed by the Hunter Association, Auron Academy, a hunter from there was dispatched to the scene to deal with the gate and the bloody ogre. She reports to Sakura that before she arrived there, everything was already dealt with. She adds that a lone student at the scene claimed to have defeated the monster by himself, but it is doubtful. Because the remnants of mana at the scene was way over a normal human's output, it was like a monstrous presence. The girl is trembling thinking of that. Sakura thinks to herself that for a hunter like this girl to be scared, when she has more than enough power as a hunter, also the same student from before is claiming again that he has defeated the ogre. Sakura then thanks her for her report, and that she will look over it. After leaving Sakura's office, the hunter girl fangirls over Sakura, being loud, that how cool she is and all. Sakura hears all that. She feels uncomfortable by this as she doesn't know how to deal with these kinds of people. She only wants to deal with the monsters. Appearance has nothing to do in this line of work anyway. She goes back to think about today's ogre incident. She deduces that it was definitely by someone else other than Araki. About the bloody ogre case from the other day, according to the report, Araki was arguing with someone, and it seems like there's no mistake that this someone vanished from the scene. She is sure that she will get close to the truth if she talks to Araki. She looks at her family picture. It is for the sake of her family as well. The possibility of an irregular should not be unchecked. Now it is a shocking scene. Sleeking his hair, Araki is studying diligently in the classroom. Sawamura and other bullies are shocked. The bullies laugh at his sudden change of character, saying it doesn't suit Araki. Noticing Sawamura is looking at them, they pick on Sawamura. Araki then stops them with a punch. Sawamura is beyond shocked. Takaru comes to the classroom. Sawamura greets him like usual. Takaru is about to ask about his injury, then Sawamura says that he fell down yesterday, being all nervous. Takaru feels bad that he wanted to heal all of his injuries, but couldn't as it's not normal here. Sawamura asks him if he went home right away yesterday. Takaru says yes and that his mom made him a lot of tonkatsu to celebrate his return to school. Takaru and Sawamura have a light-hearted conversation. Then he asks about Araki. Takaru says that isn't it better if he is being diligent? Sakura arrives at Araki's school, Kazami High. Nowadays, all hunters are managed by the Hunter Association. A person of monstrous power roaming around as they please, Sakura worries about what they might do with that much power, when even managed hunters go rogue. All the more reasons for her to find this irregular. Then a hunter, Hibekawa Jean, codename Orochi, sees Sakura. Her codename is Valkyrie, in front of the Kazami High's gate. He asks her why she is here. Then Sakura asks him if it is okay for a guild master to be here, as Uroboro's guild is in charge of the Tokai region. Then Hibikawa says they have lots of excellent people, so she doesn't need to worry. Uroboro guild is famous for their aggressive scouting method. She thinks to herself that it's likely the guild master is here for the irregular too. Orochi and Valkyrie argue and get on each other's nerves. They both figure out that their objective to come to this school is the same, the irregular. Sakura asks what he is going to do now. Hibikawa seems to plan on drawing the irregular out of the school by causing an uproar. Sakura tells him to stop and, at that moment, a blue gate breaks inside the school. Hibikawa then gives up and leaves. He says that it looks like a blue gate so Sakura can handle it on her own. Hibikawa isn't interested in small fries. Sakura is frustrated and asks if he really is a hunter. To this Hibikawa says, he is Japan's finest S-rank hunter. Hibikawa thinks to himself about the magic power he felt for an instant, when the gate broke. It is bigger than he imagined, and the skill to completely erase any traces and blend into everyday life. He realizes that he is dealing with a monster. He says, now he needs to prepare all sorts of things. The skeleton-like monsters have appeared from the blue gate. Sakura defeats one in an instant. There are a lot more than she thought. Some students can't move being so scared. Sakura uses a lightning boost to defeat them. Then she tells others to hurry up and evacuate as Sakura, the S-rank hunter, is here. She notices some students have fighting experience. Then she runs towards the strong mana she senses, which is coming from the above, the roof. The skeleton and ghouls are the lowest rank monsters, so they should be fine and she can help them. The will-o-wisps can use magic, so they do pose a danger, but there are only a few of them. If the students were calm a bit, Sakura is sure that they could defeat those themselves. But it's understandable that the situation is unusual for them, and as they have not received any training for it, it's natural for them to panic and unable to move. However, for that very reason, hunters exist. Sakura enters the roof. Sacred circle, Takuru says. He makes a huge magic circle surrounding the roof. He lets out overwhelming mana. Sakura has found the irregular Takuru. After creating the sacred circle, he is to deal with the gate. He hears someone saying, they have found the irregular. After breaking the gate, upon understanding the situation, he uses physical boost and runs. Sakura runs after him using her lightning boost. But Takuru is faster. Sakura's lightning boost is supposed to give her more speed than a mere physical boost. She is still keeping up with him. Takuru doesn't want to turn around and show her his face, but he can sense her presence behind him. Takuru could run even faster, but this is Kusuragi's limit. Physical boost is the magic that increases the user's physical abilities. Magic stems from the soul and Takuru does have it in control, but it would be bad if he lets his guard down. He feels the need to train Kusuragi's body a bit, but he needs to take extra care so that he doesn't become too buff. Then Takuru uses aerial boost and dashes like a rocket. Sakura completely loses him. She is surprised. What was that? She has to give up on him for now. What else she could do? As the story continues, we can see that our main character Takuru, after using the aerial boost, has disappeared from the place. Seeing that, Sakura was stunned, so she thought about what just happened there. After that, she thought that for now, she'll just have to give him up. On the other hand, after disappearing from that scene, we can see that Takuru is on his way to his home. As he was walking, he thought that he was actually pretty far away from his school now. And he realizes that he has left his school bag at his school, but he wasn't worrying about that, because he can get his tomorrow. Takuru then further says to himself that he was sure that there won't be any more lessons for the day. He then also thinks that the one who was chasing him is probably a hunter. And when he looked them up on the net, he thought they were like the chivalric order or adventures from the other world. But there are some pretty strong people, so he can't let his guard down at all. With that, Takuru reached his home. As she entered the house, his mother ran across the room and hugged him and said she is glad that he was alright. In response to that, Takuru asks his mother if he made her worry, and if so then he is sorry. After that, his mother says she heard that ogres appeared at the school, and on top of that, he didn't answer her calls. Hearing that, Takuru suddenly says that he may have dropped his cell phone. In the next moment, we can see Takuru's mother says that's right, he actually did drop his phone. But his friend is actually here, and she actually brought his phone back for him. Hearing that, Takuru thought that it might be Sawamura, but as he entered the room he saw it was none other than Takamine Sakura, the S-ranked hunter, who brought his phone back. After that, Takuru realizes that it was her, who was chasing him. Following that, Takuru thanked her for going out of her way to bring his phone back, to which she says that was not a big deal, and that she actually wants to ask him about some things. In response to that, Takuru says with a big smile that she has questions for him, to which she says yes, and then further goes on to add that it was about yesterday's abandoned factory incident, and also the bloody ogre incident a while ago. Hearing that, Takuru thought that this was going to be bad, and that this is a lot worse than he had thought. Taketo then says to her that he will answer every question. Since she went out of her way, he'd actually like to properly thank her. After that, Takuru asks Sakura if they can speak a little in his room. In reply, she says yes, and on the other hand, Takuru's mother thinks that maybe should now go and buy cake for them both. so we can see that she leaves the place. The scene then shifts to Takeru's room, where we can see that he asks Sakura to sit, to which she replies that she will be fine right where she is right now. Afterward, she asks him who he is, actually. Hearing that, Takeru wonders that she actually went straight to business, but he actually can't tell her the truth, because he thinks that she actually won't believe him, so we can see that he decided to stay quiet. All of a sudden, Sakura came really close to him and said the fact that he was being quiet at this point means that he actually has something that he doesn't want to talk about. Takeru then says to her that he actually hasn't done anything bad, and reveals that he has amnesia, and that if she has any doubt about that, then she can confirm this from his parents, and his school was informed about this too. In response to that, Sakura asks him that, if that's the case, then how was he fighting monsters? And even if he has good senses to use magic, during such an emergency, how was he so calm? To which, Takeru says he is not sure that it was him, but for slime reason he was able to do that. But we can see that there was no way that Sakura was buying this. After that, she further goes on to say that, why was he hiding his powers? Takeru there responded by saying that even if he gained this power all of a sudden, he actually doesn't want to use this power, because he feels scared to do so. Sakura then says that he actually would be able to perform hunting activities at the highest level. In reply, Takeru says didn't want to worry his parents, and he actually has no desire to be a hunter. She then further adds that he will get social status, fame as well. And even if he could have every will his point of view change, she asked. Takeru then again says that he has no need for those things, and if he can spend his time peacefully, then that's enough for him. After that, Sakura says that she understood, but as long as he was not using his power for a bad thing, then she and the hunting association have nothing to say to him. After that, she also adds that she will make sure that she alone took care of the matter earlier. Hearing that, Takeru was absolutely shocked, and asked her if she actually believed him. Sakura then says that she was not going to believe everything that he said right away, but when she actually thought about what he did, he was just protecting other people. After saying that, we can see, Sakura said sorry to Takeru, and all of a sudden, she started to chase him out of nowhere. And she also mentioned that she was sorry because she was really violent inside his house. Hearing that, Takeru says she doesn't have to say sorry to him, and that he should be the one apologizing to her for acting suspiciously. After that, Sakura also says setting his phone's password to be 0000 is not good at all. Hearing that, Takeru thinks that that's how she actually found him. Then Sakura also adds that she became a hunter so that others can live a peaceful life. Then she also says to Kusanagi-kun that he won't be able to hide his power forever. However, if he wants to have a peaceful life, then his peaceful everyday life, she will protect. And we can see that she actually started to leave the place. Takeru then wonders that even this world also has them, and people who are just like Edelweiss. And we also know that she also exchanged their contact numbers too. And we can see that, as she was on her way to her home, she was texting and as well as thinking about Takeru, he was actually really a very mysterious person indeed. All of a sudden we can see that an elderly person says to Takamine Sakura that she should stop texting while she is walking. And there we can see that, she was quite taken aback by that. In the next scene, we see that Takeru is running, because he is very health conscious. According to Takeru, running actually calms him down. It was his daily routine in the other world. Not like he could slack off with the general, who taught him the sword was always there. It was actually hard at first, but it helped him build his body. It was actually perfect for him who was a shut-in. Afterward, we learn that his school is temporarily closed, due to the disaster. As he was thinking about all that, he noticed that a black gate had appeared, and all the policemen are guarding it. After that, we learn that it takes time for a black gate to break open and the strong monsters to spill out. Although, it's possible to close the gate and prevent any kind of damage to this world by defeating the monster boss. After that, Takeru thinks that all these guys are waiting for the hunters to come back. And as he was thinking this, Takeru noticed the black gate closely. Seeing that, he remembered that, inside the gate, there is a whole different world there. And could it be the other world that he knows about? After that, Takeru thinks that, if he now enters there, maybe he will be able to get a clue as to what's going on there. And as he was wondering all this, suddenly we see that someone puts his hand on Takeru's shoulder, and asks him to cast away his fear, because now that that Wind Guard party, are there, he has nothing to fear about. All the other people who belong to that party, apologies on behalf of that guy. And one of them even went on to say that, this guy always makes this type of noise, and all the other members of the party absolutely agree with him. After that, they further go on to add that, he was an idiot. To which, the guy says that he was fine being an idiot. After understanding the situation, Takeru says to himself that it's them, the Wind Guard party. As Takeru was looking at the Wind Guards, he noticed that they had a lot of fans, and that the crowd was really happy to see them. And they were also chanting their names and were also giving them compliments. Seeing that, Takeru says to himself that it was lovely to see that kind of love, and the guards were surely giving the vibes of a local superhero. Afterward, one of the guys came up to Takeru, and there he said they will destroy the gate. So there was nothing to worry about. Then he further goes on to add that, with that shield, he will protect his friends and everyone in the town, which also includes him too. Hearing that, Takaru understands that he's a tank. After that, he asks him to do his best. In response to that, he replies yes. Following that, we can see that one of the girl members of the Wind Guard party says to that guy that he'll burst Takaru's ears, and instead of that, he should now just focus on Black Gate. Seeing that, Takaru says that loudness brings back some memories of his, and just like the general, anti-demon stronghold town located at the front line Canaan. After that, we can see, in a mini flashback, Takaru is fighting with the general, and there he is asking him what is wrong with him, because his moves are slowing down. And there we get to see that Takaru is trying really hard, but couldn't hit the general at all. On the other hand, the general was not even trying at all. Following that, we can see, within a snap of a finger, the general defeated the Messiah. And there he says that the victory is his. After that, he says Takaru is chosen by the god for a reason, and that his physical prowess and his magical abilities are actually growing at an astonishing rate. Hearing that, Takaru asks if so, then why he is unable to land an attack against him. Following that, he says, no matter how fast he is, a powerful attack will always leave an opening. So in short, it's all about how he uses it. So in other words, if he can create a gap for himself. And all of a sudden, we can see that a demon appears all of a sudden. And this was a demon that they have never seen before. They were thinking about how to make it inside. And what about the guards? All of a sudden, the demon came really close to the general. Seeing that, Takaru was really scared of the general. But inside his head, Takaru was thinking, what should he do now to save the general? And at the same time, he was so scared. But we can see that he actually launched an attack on the demon, so he asked the general to run away from the scene. But the general, on the other hand, said that, as a general appointed by the king to fight this war, he would not give up and he was going to fail so easily. Hearing that, Takaru was absolutely stunned. The general then says that it has been 3 months since he was in their world. But for him, it was like he had got a grandchild, and every day for him was fun and really enjoyable. After that, the general says that he already lost his wife and son, so that's why he can't afford to lose his grandchild. After that, the general asks Takaru to go. We then get to learn that Takaru actually wants to run away, but he just can't use the general as a decoy and run. Takaru then says that again and again in his mind, that he doesn't want to do that. And all of a sudden, Takaru jumps in to fight the demon, because he had already decided to part from his old self. Seeing Takaru like that, the general was absolutely flabbergasted. Takaru then swings his sword, and seeing that, the general shouts that such a large swing won't help him here, and that it's no good. But Takaru was thinking that, if he wants an opening for himself, then he'll have to break his posture, and then he will make his move. So, like that, within one single move, Takaru destroyed the demon. On the other hand, we can see in the general's eyes that he was really proud of his students, who he loves like his grandson. Afterward, the general asks Takaru why he did that, because he asked him to run away. To which, Takaru answered that he also feels the same for him, and if he lost his grandpa, then he'll be sad too. After that, Takaru wants to make the situation a bit lighter, so therefore, he asks the general if he did as the general told him to do. In response to that, the general goes on to say that he can't give him a perfect score there, and that he shouldn't move like that in a fight. Hearing that, Takaru was stunned. Back in the present time, we can see that Takaru was thinking that Gato and the general are similar after all. It has been 3 hours since then, but his ears were still weirded. And as he was wondering all this, we can see that he was warming up. After that, he thinks that, for muscle training, he'll have to start low and slow within 5 minutes, and change the part of the body that he'll work, or every day. After that, Takaru further goes on to think that, for now he'll focus on doing more cardio to increase his endurance. Also, he can't forget about stretching. As for the diet, according to Takaru, he has no problem losing weight, so he is thankful that it doesn't need to be changed. His mother actually makes him a lot of meals, although Takaru feels that, this body that he was in right now, surely feels different from his own. But he says to himself that he'll make sure to make adjustments not to alter the body line. After finishing his workout, as Takaru was going back, he learned that someone named Chika had been trapped at the Black Gate. So Gato was shouting for him, and his mates were trying to calm him down. They were saying that they could understand how he was feeling, but according to them, they should wait for the rescue team to arrive. And out of all of them, Chika is the fastest, so she'll be fine according to one of them. Then one of them asks, why did Chika choose to be a decoy for them? And on the other hand, Takaru was watching all of these things, and he was wondering, the Wind Guards are a high-ranked party. In fact, they are the C-ranked party to be specific. But it seems to Takaru that it was getting hard for them. So after that, he thinks that, if any S-ranked party would show up there or not. One of the members of the Wind Guard party then bows down and starts to scream that he was sorry for making Chika a decoy, and also apologized for being weak. Seeing that, Takaru was feeling really very sad, and he felt like it was as if he was witnessing a different future of time. After that, we can see Takaru closed his eyes, and further goes on to think, what if someone doesn't come soon? As he opened his eyes, he was absolutely stunned, and didn't understand what just happened there. After a few moments, Takaru realized that he unconsciously entered the gate. After that, he thinks, now he will have to take measures to avoid being spotted. Then Takaru remembers that once his master told him that he was a meathead, and that what is good about him according to his master. After that, he thinks that, since he has entered, now it can't be helped. And inside of the gate, a girl who was sitting on the demon's shoulder said that someone had entered the gate. And afterwards, she further goes on to say that please don't break instantly this time. So there we get to see that she was really very happy. Following that, we see Takaru was running in the forest, and he was really very fast. As he was running, Takaru thinks that, somehow, he was feeling really nostalgic. He can't tell whether it's an alternate world or not just from the forest, but all the monsters are familiar to him, as expected this world is. On the other hand, we can see that Chika was scared for her life, as she was being chased by a monster. And there we can see that she was running, and Chika was thinking that, if Yuichi made it out, and if she was crying or something. All of a sudden Chika fell on the ground, and the monster was standing in front of her. Seeing that, she thought that this was it, and that it was her last day on Earth. But fortunately, Takaru suddenly arrives there, and he puts a shield with his magic and saves her. Following that, Takaru says that he was actually glad that he made it in time. Then he looks at Chika and says that she has some bruises, but that seems to be it. Then Chika thanked Takaru for saving her life. To which, Takaru says that it was actually nothing, and that he was just passing by. Hearing that, Chika was absolutely flabbergasted. So, then she said she didn't think that he was passing by there. Because he was that kid, they met outside the gate, and she was quite sure about that. Because the voice, outfit and everything was the same. Hearing that, Takaru says that she actually has a great memory. In response to that, she goes on to say yes, because she is the one who has to investigate and scout, so that's why she has to keep track of everything around her. On the other hand, we can see that Takaru was absolutely silent after hearing all this. Understanding that, the girl Chika then says actually appreciate his concern, and that she was sorry. After that, Takaru asks her if that Cyclops is just now the boss of the gate, to which she responded by saying yes. Following that, he suggests to her that they should now just leave as quickly as possible. And on top of that, her friends were waiting for her too. Hearing that, Chika was delighted, and there she states that everyone seems to be okay and safe. But little to their knowledge, there were a few more monsters that were waiting for them. After that, we can see Takaru and Chika walking and finding their way to the gate. And there Chika thinks that the freeze that Takaru has used earlier is a beginner's level spell. And she was stunned to see that he has so much power, even though he was not even carrying any tools like her knife to enhance his power. And not to mention that he was dressed as if he went out for a walk to some convenience store. And he entered a gate where monsters roam freely. Then Chika thinks, what is the deal with this kid? And just who is he? As she was wondering about all of those things, Takaru suddenly stops her and then borrows her knife with her permission. And all of a sudden, a power attack which was like lightning was coming towards them. Seeing that, Takaru attacked the power with Chika's knife. After that, we learn that it was the girl who was sitting on a monster's shoulder. And upon facing the attack, Chika was shocked. Suddenly another same lightning type of power just missed Takaru and Chika. And seeing that, a scared Chika then says, what did she just see? And how did she survive that? And she then started shouting, and as she was doing that, we can see that her eyes were closed. So as she opened her eyes, she realized that Takaru was actually carrying her. And the attacks on the other hand were coming non-stop. And the girl monster on the other hand was getting absolutely pissed, because she was actually missing every blow. So after that, she was preparing a different type of attack. Meanwhile, Takaru said sorry to Chika, because he destroyed her knife while stopping the attack from the monster. And then he further goes on to say that he will repay her. He hopes that his allowance will be able to cover that. In response to that, a scared Chika says that it's absolutely fine, and that she actually didn't care about that. And as they were talking about all this, we can see that Takaru was also running towards the gate while carrying Chika. After that, Takaru asked Chika-chan if she had any items to obscure the area when they left the gate. And if he does, then it would be awesome. To which, she replied by saying that she has a smoke screen. Following that, we can see them in front of the gate. And there Takaru stops and says to Chika-chan that he actually has a fever that he wants from her. Hearing that, she asks what it was. And there he says he wants her to hide his identity once they enter their world. To which, she agreed. After that, Takaru asks her to enter the gate before him, and she agrees to that. After that, we can see that Chika enters the gate, and the process of sending her back to her world begins. On the other hand, we can see that the monster girl got really angry to see that, and says she wants to play with them more. So there, she says that this time she was going to launch an extremely dangerous attack, but her attack was unable to do anything to them, and they reached their destination. Following that, we can see the baby monster who says that they will have to play with her even more next time. After that, we can see Chika's friends were really happy to see her alive, and they all hugged each other. Takaru, on the other hand, was looking at them from far away. Then the scene shifts to a school, where we can see that everyone is attending the class. And there they get to learn that their school will accept 3 students from Kazami High School, which was damaged due to the gate break. So the students were to ask that these 3 students were not only citizens but also their friends too, who will study with them too, that they with hunters should protect too. After that, the teacher told the 3 students, who were Araki, Sawamura, Kusanagi Takaru, that he hopes that they all get along with the students at the Auron Academy. Hearing that, Takaru thinks that, what kind of situation will be this now? Shortly after, we can see that the 3 of them were really nervous at their new school. And Sawamura then said when the break happened, each hunter training school decided to allocate space for classes not to continue, and that the place was made on a larger scale, so it works as a shelter as well. After that, he further goes on to say that this was his first time doing this type of thing, and that it actually made him really excited to think they will be sent to Auron Academy. Sawamura actually has mixed feelings with Araki being there, but he was sure that Araki won't do anything here of all places. Afterward, Takaru asks Sawamura to forget about Araki, and that they should just enjoy now. To which he responded by saying that he was absolutely right, and that they should enjoy this new place now. Then Sawamura says that as expected, Auron Academy is very amazing, especially the famous hunter Takamine Sakura. There are a lot of graduates who are at the top of the rank as well, but she is the best according to Sawamura. After that, he kept on babbling about Takamine-chan, but we can see that Takaru ignored all of that. We can all see that Takaru was observing the atmosphere of the academy, and there he sees that nearly all the students carry weapons to be able to fight at all times. Meanwhile, Sawamura, on the other hand, was asking Takaru if he had ever met Takamine-chan. In reply to that, he asked why. Sawamura then said that she actually picked up his shirt phone and asked about his address to return the phone back to him. After that, Takaru says yes, she actually did bring that back to him, and also adds that she is a really nice person. Hearing that, Sawamura replies not him by saying he is now getting really jealous of him. After that, Sawamura asks Takaru that, by any chance, if they have exchanged their contact info. In reply to that, Takaru lied by saying no. Sawamura then said that she only went to his house to give his phone back. Take then says yes, and there he thinks that if anyone knows that she has given him her number, that it will be bad. So that's why he has hidden that matter. After that, Sawamura further goes on to say that he actually heard that Hunter Takamine actually has a fan group, and that's pretty extreme, so he thought that he would have to be careful about that. Hearing that, Takaru was pretty stunned. Then Sawamura again states that, who knows what will happen if the fan club gets to know that she brought Takaru's phone back. All of a sudden, we can see that Takamine-chan appeared there, and seeing that, Sawamura says that speak of the devil. Take then thinks that, even on the school grounds she feels like unattainable followers. Following that, Takaru thinks that, if she has any friends. And at the same time as he was thinking all this, Takamine-chan actually passes by him and Sawamura, and as she was passing from there, she suddenly stopped and gave a smile to Takaru. And seeing that, Takaru and Sawamura both were very happy. In the next scene, we see that Takaru is going somewhere, and Sawamura was calling him from behind. There he says that if they don't go to the cafeteria, then they will be late for the class for sure. On the other hand, Sawamura was saying that he was actually dodging the issue, and that there must be something going on between them. After that, the scene changes, and there we can see that Chika is talking to people about the Black Gate situation, and their people ask her about what happened there at that time. To which, she says that she was in a situation where she couldn't do anything herself, but someone there helped her, and that her eyes were in a haze after running, so that's why she actually didn't see anything. That's why she can't say that how that person looked or who that might be. Chika then further goes on to say that she was actually very grateful to that person, and that person was her savior that day. In the next scene, we can see that Takaru is at Takamine's office, and there she says that there is a limit to how much she can save Takaru. In response to that, Takaru says that he was sorry. After that, Takamine-chan says that the Hunter Association is in an uproar. Which Takaru says, that's really bad. After that, she further goes on to say that she says they can guesstimate what the strength of the boss will be in a Black Gate based on mana. Then Takamine says that gate was D-ranked, and the C-rank party wind guard was supposed to be done in around minutes, but in reality an A-rank Cyclops appeared there. And moreover, the problem is this irregular person who was at the scene. Someone not registered with the association who coincidentally was there at the scene, and that it is unknown whether that someone is a friend or a foe. And after that she said there is one more thing that she has to say. If there is an enemy that unleashed strong magical power like he reported. Hearing that, Takaru said that he was sorry about that. To which, Takamine replied by saying that she is also sorry, and that she shouldn't be so harsh to him. What he did was absolutely the correct thing to do, if she had to say honestly. But what special power he has got? He is still a citizen who wishes for a peaceful life that must be protected. Takamine then says that she promised to protect his life. So, in that case he will have to leave those dangerous things to the hunters. And there she politely says please to Takaru. And she said that, because Takaru has parents that will be worried about him. After that, as Takaru was going home, he was thinking that Takamine-chan is a really good person, and that he can now understand why she has a fan club. As he was thinking all of that, suddenly a monster appeared there. And seeing that, Takaru was flabbergasted. And he was thinking that he now has gotten used to this type of abrupt situation. There we get to know that he actually doesn't want to take any action, because of what he and Takamine-chan have just talked about. All of a sudden, we can see that some hunters arrived at that place to save Takaru, and straight away they started fighting with the monster. As these things were happening, we can see that Takaru was just standing there, and he didn't move an inch. And all of a sudden, one attack was very close and it almost got to Takaru, but at the same time one of the hunters came from behind, and he was able to save Takaru from that attack. As he did that, the guy then said that the attack was really very close as well as dangerous, and it almost got Takaru. After defeating the monster, the guy says that he was sorry if he startled Takaru. He then goes on to ask Takaru if he is okay, to which Takaru replies that yes, he was okay, and on tip if his uniform is also clean. After that he thanked him too, and in his mind he was thinking that this guy is quite flashy to say the least. And on the other hand, that hunter guy was quite taken back by the fact that Takaru was only caring about uniforms. After that, the guy says yes, indeed he was right, and that he was amused by that. Following that, we can see that guy and his partners then came close to him and started showing off for a bit. The guy says Kusanagi Takaru, a second-year student at Kazami High School. After that, he says that maybe Takaru is thinking about why he was saying his full name. Then he clarifies that the reason for that is, it was the proof of his affection for Takaru, and that he was going to be his future comrade. Hearing that, Takaru was quite shocked. After that, we learn that the name of that guy is Byakuin Soma, and that he was the legitimate successor of the Byakuin spearmanship style. He is a young genius, who is an A-ranked hunter, as well as the president of Takamine Sakura, fan club Auron Society. Following that, Byakuin says to Takaru that they should now get along. And hearing that, Takaru was a little confused. Shortly after, Soma laughed and then said he bet that Takaru is thinking that, what's Auron Society? In response to that, Takaru says that, of course he is, and it would be nice if they explain that to be that what it is actually. Soma then goes on to say, Aro admire Takamine, as well as she is beautiful as a goddess, and those who admire her gather and they protect the city. It serves as the largest guild in the school, which protects the place of the general public. Takaru then thinks, it's not just a fan club then. Shortly after, Soma says, the only condition to join is to love and respect Takamine. And even if someone is not a hunter, be it a magus or a support, there are plenty of things that one can do. Soma then further goes on to state, Takaru's passionate glance towards Takamine during the lunch break was actually enough for him to understand that he was the perfect fit for the Auron Society. Hearing that, Takaru was thinking, he was not very good at handling this type of person. Then Soma also adds the calmness that he showed before a monster earlier was not an ordinary behavior. Takaru then quickly stops Soma and says no, it was not that at all, he was just surprised, so that did not register in his mind, and that was it. Afterwards, we can see, Soma was about to say something, but all of a sudden, Takamine arrives there, and she said, if the gate breaks there, and that someone took care of that already. Takaru then responded to that by saying, these people actually took care of that, and he turned around and pointed towards them, but to his surprise there was no one there, because by that time they were all gone from there. The next day, we can see Takaru was entering the school, and there he was wondering, what was the deal with those guys yesterday, and that he would not like to be a part of those guys, if possible. But after that, Takaru thinks that, for there to be such a high guild within the school, as expected, Takamine's influence is really amazing, and that he'll be careful not to get in the way of their work. Meanwhile, as Takaru tries to enter the classroom by opening the door, he was absolutely surprised to see Soma was waiting for him. After that, Soma greets Takaru, and as he was doing that, we can see Soma was actually hanging by the door in a weird way. Seeing that, Takaru asks him to stop doing that, as it was quite dangerous. Soma replied by saying that, sure, but being proactive is an ideal way of life for him. Takaru then asks him what he was doing there at the school, to which Soma answers, because it was his classroom. Hearing that, Takaru made a very disappointed face. Soma then once again says that since they are classmates, they should just try to get along well. Takaru said yes to that. After the class at the lunch break, we can see, Soma was following Takaru, and all this time he was just looking at Takaru. Naturally, Takaru was absolutely annoyed by that look. Shortly after, Takaru asks Sawamura if he knows about Byakuin Soma, to which he replies that he actually did hear about him. Following that, Sawamura further goes on to say, he is the successor to the Byakuin family, a famous spearmanship household that's been around for 1,000 years. And he also adds, he was strong enough to be called a child prodigy from an early age. He is also one of the 5 A-rank hunters in Auron Academy. Hearing that, Takaru says that he is outstanding. Sawamura then again says he is a top-tier hunter who is also the same age as them, if he excludes Hunter Takamine. Takaru after that thinks, that's true, his spearmanship yesterday was great. Sawamura then says, although he can seem a bit strange sometimes, Sawamura thinks that Takaru will understand how good he is in the next lesson. After that, the scene shifts to the training grounds, within the Auron Academy. And there we can see, the trainer told all the students that it's time for the most important lesson for all the hunters. So, if everyone is ready for the training. And all the students were roaring that they were ready for the training. Seeing that, Takaru says that they are a bit too hot-blooded for a PE lesson. Sawamura then says it's not just that, it's also training to be a hunter. Sawamura then also adds that, It's usually not possible in a normal school other than when a person from the association comes. As expected, for this to be included as a normal lesson is basically, they're using DS monsters to train themselves to fight against monsters in real battles. Suddenly, Takara says to Sawamura that they are doppelganger slimes, to which Sawamura says they'll change according to what data was put into D's house. After that we get to know that D's is an abbreviation for doppelganger slimes, as they were watching all the students training there. It certainly felt to Takara that what they are doing is like firefighters. On the other hand, we can see Araki was also saying the same thing. Hearing Araki, Takara then turns around and then asks Araki if he also states the same thing. Following that, Araki got a bit scared to see Takara. As the training was going forward, we can see Soma displaying stupendously fabulous fighting techniques. Seeing that, Sawamura was absolutely flabbergasted. But Takara on the other hand thought that he was being very flashy. All of a sudden, the trainer there called the 3 students from Kazami High School. And after that, the trainer told them that the 3 goblins will be their opponents. Takara was stunned to hear that. Shortly after, the trainer says that they can choose a weapon for hunting or magic from there. Then he also adds that, for starters, his recommendation will be the sword. Takara then says to Sawamura that, why if he was not going for magic, and that if he is not confident in his magic at all, to which Sawamura replies, he is not sure about his magic, and that he knows that he is actually physically weak, so unless he uses magic he won't be able to do it. After that, the trainer asks them to listen to him, so that he can give them some tips. The trainer then goes on to add that, the weak point of the goblins is their neck, so it will be easy for them to hurt them, even if they're not a hunter, so they should aim for the neck. After that, we can see that the fight started, and the goblins are already coming to attack. Seeing that, Takara thinks that he can just cut it down very easily, but there is no need for him to show this kind of power. And on the other hand, Sawamura and Araki were also ready for the attack. As they were coming closer and closer, Takara was saying to himself that he should do it slowly. And he was saying that again and again. So one of the goblins came closer to them. Sawamura told Takara that this goblin was only pretending to attack, and that he was not going to do anything. And suddenly Sawamura felt that no, he was definitely going to attack them. So, there he said to Takara that he should now just cut it. And there we get to see that, with just one single blow, Takara cuts his head off. And seeing that, everyone was absolutely shocked. And they started saying how quick it was. And most of them missed it because it was so quick. So they were saying there, when did he do it? Or rather, when did he swing the sword? After that we can see that Sawamura was also very shocked. So Takara looked at them and then said, the slime was really stupid. Then he asked Araki if that wasn't right. But Araki had no other choice, because of what happened to him previously. And how Takara taught him a lesson. So there he started laughing. And then said, didn't that means the D's house is broken? To which, Takara lied, that's right. But on the other hand, Soma was stunned by that, and he was really impressed. The next day we can see Takara is in the library, and there he was thinking that this school has a beautiful library. Shortly after, he was thinking about how he could return Takara's body to him. Then he thinks that it is not a simple task to do, and that it's gonna be a really hard task. After that, he comes to the conclusion that the person who might give him a clue is after all a magazine which he got from Sawamura. Takara then opens the magazine, and after flipping through some pages he sees something that could help him. It says Dead Heroic Spirit Possession, and he finds a bit of resemblance to his situation, and that it's just like how he's possessing Takara's body. Following that, we can see him reading the story. After reading it, he says if that is the case, then could it be that Takara is still, as he was about to finish saying the sentence, suddenly Soma comes out of nowhere. Upon arriving, Soma greets Takara. After that he says that he was sorry for startling him, and he then asks him if he just pissed him off. Hearing that, Takara was saying in his mind that he has now totally become used to that. Following that, he asked him what it is now. Soma answers that he has recently become really interested in him. Soma then further goes on to say, Takara was actually hiding his true power from everyone. Takara then asks him what he is saying all of a sudden. After that, Soma says ever since he was a kid, he had the chance to observe all kinds of people. So at this point of his life, he is good at judging people's ability. But he actually can see the potential of Takara's power. To which, an annoyed Takara says he is a normal student with memory loss. Soma says he is really bad at acting. Soma then further goes on to add that his stance, sword skills and grit, they are all above master's level, and that he was actually interested in his strength. Hearing that, Takara was kinda off guard, so he looked at him. Soma then says he was just kidding, and if possible, then he would like to go against him. Takara then ignores him. Then Soma decided to leave that topic. Soma noticed Takara reading the magazine, so there he asked him if he was interested in hunting, to which he replied maybe he is. Soma then tells him that she is a top-class hunter even in Japan. All of a sudden, Takara jumped up from his chair and asked Soma if he knew her, and that will help him meet her. Soma says that they had a gathering of martial artists at his place, and that she went back home already. He then further goes on to say, she usually held up on the grounds of the sacred mountain, so it's not easy. But if he uses his family's connections, it's possible to have a meeting with her. Takara then screamed in joy by saying really. To which, Soma says Takaru is not as calm as he thought, and he starts laughing. Shortly after, Soma says then they should do that this way. If Takaru shows him his abilities in a duel, then he will introduce him to Yusuji Kikyu. Takwa was stunned to hear that, and he kept on staring at Soma for a while. The scene shifts to outside of the library, and there we get to learn that there are a few black gates that broke and are being preserved on the academy grounds. A special magic seal has been placed on that source, and that they are used for training. Students need permits to enter there, however, as Soma is a ranked, so it won't be a problem. So they can fight to their heart's content there. After that, as Soma and Takaru were standing there face to face, Takaru says to Soma that there is a great bull raging behind him. Shortly after, Takaru says to Soma that he will introduce him to Yusuji Kikyu, and he can't tell anyone about his power, and that he will have to make sure to keep these two things hidden, and Takaru wants a promise from him. To which, Soma says that he will keep these things hidden, and he will never go back on his word. After that, Takaru says then they should just start the fight. And in the fight, we can see that Soma was trying to attack Takaru with his spear, but Takaru was dodging every blow very easily. But on the other hand, was also trying his best, but after some more missing blows, says he actually has a very good control over the weapon. After that, they both were fighting for some more time, and both of them were dodging each other's blows, and both were getting very excited at that point of time. Shortly after, Soma was really trying his hardest, and seeing that, Takaru thinks, so the movements that he was showing before was just a performance. So then says this is getting really great according to. And then all of a sudden, Takaru says that he did not accept the offer to have fun, and there Takaru started to show his true colors and skill. And seeing that, Soma was absolutely flabbergasted to say six the least, because as he was fighting him he saw an image of his lifeless body. And we get to learn that he was really scared by that. All of a sudden, Takaru drops Soma on his back and then puts his sword in his neck, and after that he says that he won the fight. And Soma was absolutely stunned by that. After that we can see that Soma got up from the ground, and says that Takaru was absolutely amazing to say the least. After that he further goes on to say that he was right about Takaru being a stronger guy than he looks, and more so he was actually stronger than him. Following that, Soma started asking Takaru to show more of his power. Takaru then asks him to fulfill his end of the deal, to which he replies not yet. And all of a sudden to their surprise, the great raging bull, who was inside the brick wall. Seeing that, Takaru and Soma both were shocked, and Soma after that says that great bull turned into a minotaur, and that according to him it was absolutely absurd and impossible for him to change into a different species. On the other hand, Takaru was also thinking that, even though he hadn't seen it before, not even in the other world, but he fought one before. Shortly after, we can see, Soma asked Takaru to run back, and that he was gonna hold that back. Hearing that, Takaru was confused. Soma then said that, Aoran society is a gathering of people who admire Takamine Sakura. At the same time, they all share the same beautiful aspiration of their goddess, and that is to protect the peace of the city and the general public from monsters. After that we can see that Soma was fighting the bull, and at the same time he was also saying that he actually knows that Takaru can defeat it with his pinky. But he is an ordinary person, and in that case, he as the president of the Aoran society will embody her ideal, and he will exercise his duty to protect Takaru. Following that, Soma also says that he is sorry, because he knew Takaru actually wanted to hide his power, but he made Takaru go along with him. After that he says just like Takaru, and then he suddenly says not him. And then shortly after, Soma rephrased his statement by saying just like that person, he wants to become stronger. And by saying that person, he was actually someone mentioning a person that Soma actually looks up to. Then the story goes on to a flashback, where we can see Soma at the Baiduan family dojo 4 years ago. And we learn that he just won a fight there. And after winning the fight, Soma said that he actually heard from someone that the fighter that he just defeated is a hunter. It seems to him that it was all false information. At that time, Soma was a first-year junior high school student. All the people at the dojo were saying, Soma actually has tremendous power, and as expected he is naturally gifted. And they were further saying that, among the adults, only the head of the clan can only defeat him, to which another person said as one can expect from a child prodigy. And all of a sudden, we can see that Soma's father came across and then screamed Soma's name, and then said that he actually always tells him not to be rude with opponent, and that just having skills won't get him anywhere. The one who protects and guides people correctly with an unbreakable heart against all odds is the person he wants him to be. Hearing that, Soma says that he was actually fed up by that statement from his father, and there his expression says that he was bored to hear that again and again. So suddenly Soma says Tame, LL, the people there that he has school tomorrow so he will have to go now, and that everyone worked well today, and we can see that he left the place. His father was screaming at him, and he was saying that he's not done talking with him yet, and that was where he was going. Following that we learn, Soma actually likes getting praises, and that his talent he gets praise from everyone, and it's really satisfactory to him. Soma has everything. His house is big, his face is really good looking, money girls he actually has no problem. He always comes home late after school. He also feels that training is actually dull, so he skips it all the time. and life was actually very easy for him. He thinks that his father always speaks his heart, but according to him, a strong person is a strong person. Soma thinks that monsters are easy, and that maybe they're getting restless because he'll overtake them soon. And he was thinking all tea, he was actually on his way to his home. But all of a sudden Soma sees that a huge crowd has gathered at the road. After that, we learn that a gate had popped out of nowhere, and the rescue team has not arrived at the scene yet, and the gate might become dangerous soon. After seeing the gate and hearing all this information, Soma was over that moon. He was thinking that it was his chance to experience a real battle, and he can't just let go of the chance. So Soma began to provide direction towards the gate. And everyone there was absolutely flabbergasted by that audacity of Soma's, and they were asking him to stop, and few of them thought he was an idiot. One of the people from the crowd then asks an officer who was present there to save Soma, because if something happens then what will they do? And all of a sudden we can see a hunter running towards the gate, and she says sorry to all the people for being late. She then asked everyone to move away, because it was not safe near the gate. Afterward, we learn that she was the successor to the Baiduan family, and that her skills are superior compared to the adults that hang around her, and that she always has an easy time dealing with monsters. On the other hand, we can see Soma is actually inside the gate, and in fact, he was standing in front of the monster. Seeing the monster, taking the lives of some innocent people very brutally, actually gives a reality check to Soma. And there we can see that he was really very scared. He then started vomiting there. After that, Soma thinks that this is it for him now, and the monster is now going to take his life. And as the monster tried to reach towards him, suddenly the hunter appeared there. Upon arriving, the hunter says to Soma that she is sorry for being late, but now, it will just take an instant for her to finish the monster. Hearing that, Soma was stunned. As Soma was sitting there, the girl hunter was fighting with the monsters, but a monster tried to attack Soma, but the girl arrived there in time, and she was able to save him from the attack, and as well as finishing the monster at the same time. But her back got injured badly, and seeing that Soma was also scared, the girl then asked Soma if he was hurt anywhere. To which, Soma says that he is not, and he was glad about that. After that, the girl hunter goes to fight with the monster again, and she defeated all the monsters there, and seeing that Soma was mesmerized, and there he understood that his father was absolutely right about the hurt and courage matter. Soma then realized that he was actually very weak, and the girl then gives Soma her hand, and says that they should go back now. Back in the present time, where Soma is fighting with the great bull, he says to Takuro that, from that day onwards, Soma wanted to change himself, and not be weak, so that if he fights alongside that person, he won't feel ashamed of himself. And Soma thinks that he needs to become stronger than he is right now. Hearing that story, Takuro was so touched that he started crying. On the other hand, we can see that the bull is charging towards Soma, and the Minotaur is supposed to be a ranked monster, so it is really very strong, and we can also see that Soma is actually having a difficult time to defeat that. Seeing that, Takuro tries to help Soma, but he asks him to stay away from this matter. But Takuro there said that it was not that he was trying to get involved in the fight, instead, he just wanted to say that Soma's skills are nice, but he was being really very delicate. Being a bit simple is fine, after all their opponent is a monster not a human. Following that, Takuro awakened the dormant magical power within Soma for just now. This was a temporary boost, and it actually feels like life taking later. After that, we can see that Soma actually sent the spear flying towards the Minotaur, and finished it just like that. And as it was finished, we can see that Soma fell to the ground, and he was unconscious. As all this was happening, we get to see that two people, a male and a female, are actually watching this from Tier Place, and they were the one who sent the Minotaur. They were actually a bit upset about the fact that Soma and Takuro finished the monster. The guy then says not only the Cyclops but also the Minotaur was also done away as well. Then the girl says, just when they were made strong, such useless children. After that, the girl further asks the guy if he will be able to get Takuro next time. To which we can see that the guy says yes, he will get him the next time for sure. And they both started smiling. Then the female says that he actually seems really very confident about that statement. She then further goes on to add that even if he is stronger than AS class hunter, humans always have a weakness to them. After that, we can see, she then laughs and then says that humans are actually very reliable. Following that, she says to the male that this time, he shouldn't let him get away. After that, the guy replies to that by saying, wait for him to just be irregular. After that, the SC changes, and there we get to see in the past, when Takuro was in another world, and was locked down by the guards. And there he was being caused by the people of that world, where they just wanted them to disappear from their world. Each and every person there was waiting for him to be finished. And Takuro was asking himself why this was happening to him. The people who used to love him and call him the Messiah are now waiting for him to be lifeless and finished. Takuro then starts crying like a heartbroken person, and he was thinking that what he had done was wrong. Why was this happening to him? He was thinking that again and again. Even the little children were saying that he deserved to be finished. And suddenly Takuro woke up screaming, and then realized that he was actually dreaming. The next morning at the breakfast table, we get to know that the summer break is almost there, and Takuro was thinking about Soma. And all of a sudden, Takuro's parents screamed his name, and Nat asked what happened to him, because his face was looking pale to them. To which, Takara says to his parents that there was nothing wrong and that they shouldn't worry about everything being fine. Takara claims he's fine, even though his face looks pale. So, to avoid worrying his parents, he brushes it off as just a bad nightmare, nothing serious. But his father still looks uneasy. They only know about his memory loss so far, and that alone is enough to stir fears of something worse. The thought of anything else happening to their son clearly terrifies them. That kind of raw concern makes Takara smile. The love these parents show him, his real parents, is unlike anything else. And because of that, he's more determined than ever to give this body back, no matter what it takes. But there's no going to school without a checkup first. So instead of class, Takara ends up at the hospital. That's where he runs into a few familiar faces, the Wind Guard hunters. They're just as surprised to see him. Turns out they were sent here for treatment, and are finally being discharged. Among them is Vera. Her presence makes Takara wonder if she really never mentioned him to anyone. Judging by the tension on her face, she hasn't said a word. Things get awkward fast. But before anyone can press her, Vera cuts in, saying she's just glad everyone's okay. Then, without waiting for a response, she turns and leaves in a hurry, clearly trying to avoid any questions. Gato finally speaks up. He knew it was Takara who saved Chika that day, and he's sure of it. He even adds that Takara's from Kazami City, just like them, and their group's always been about protecting their home no matter what. They've been together since childhood. For things to end the way they did, it pisses Gato off. But it also fuels him. Next time, he swears it'll be him who saves the city, and Chika. Takara doesn't confirm anything. He plays dumb, like he doesn't know what Gato's talking about. And Gato gets it. He doesn't press. Instead, he just tells Takara that if he's ever in trouble again, the team's got his back. No matter what. Before heading off, Gato thanked him. If it weren't for Takara, they might never have seen Chika again. A few minutes later, his parents say their goodbyes too. They've got work to get back to. Takara reassures them he's fine and promises to head home and take it easy. They shouldn't worry. On the way back, he notices how warmly people treat him. Some offer thanks. Others check on him. Even when they don't say it out loud, he can feel it. And the more kindness he receives, the heavier the guilt sits. Because this isn't his life, not really. Not his body either. A sense of unease lingers in him. Until the real Takara returns, he's determined to protect these people with everything he's got. It's all he can do for now. Still, he wishes summer break would just hurry up and get here already. But he didn't realize someone was listening. A pair of hunters had caught his words. Takara tries to brush them off, doing his best to avoid any interaction. But they don't give up easily. The two approach him, introducing themselves as Yashio and Shima, A-rank hunters working under the Ouroboros Guild. Apparently, they're here on orders from their leader. The name clicks. Sakura had warned him once about Ouroboros. A major guild, well known across Japan, but surrounded by bad rumors. They're the type you're better off steering clear of. Takara sticks to her advice and keeps ignoring them. That is, until they flash a photo and insist they just want to talk. To keep things from getting messy, Takara agrees to hear them out in private. They meet at a small restaurant. That's where they lay out a stack of documents, each one more confusing than the last. The offer from Ouroboros comes with executive status, a salary of 50 million yen a year, and perks stacked on top. On paper, it's absurdly generous. But none of it tempts him. If these guys had been the first hunters he ever met, he probably would have ended up despising them all. Meeting Sakura first was the one stroke of luck he's genuinely thankful for. Without hesitation, he turns them down. He's not interested in being a hunter, especially not under them. That answer doesn't go over well. With a cold smile, Yashio and Shima say they'll just have to make him accept by force. Takara doesn't flinch. Even when they start throwing threats around, he stays composed. He points out they're being way too aggressive for what's supposed to be a conversation. But the two don't care, they're ready to fight, plain and simple. Their gear's high-tech, and it's clear they're used to fighting monsters, not humans. But that doesn't give them the edge they were hoping for. Takara's reaction time is razor-sharp. He dodges every strike effortlessly, weaving through blows with calm precision. Even with both of them attacking at once, they can't touch him. Frustrated, Yashio tries switching tactics. Instead of brute force, he goes for control, aiming to pin Takara down before he can move. But it doesn't work. Takara moves like a top-tier hunter, like someone who's lived through real battles. He's too fast, too fluid. Then he activates his protection card. The moment it kicks in, everything changes. Their kicks, punches, reinforced strikes, none of it lands. It's like they're fighting a ghost. Minutes in, they're already gasping for breath. Meanwhile, Takara hasn't even broken a sweat, but that's when he starts noticing something more dangerous. They're pulling out anti-monster weapons right in public. That level of firepower, outside a dungeon, screams desperation. Yashio finally snaps. If raw strength can't bring Takaru down, then maybe hostages will. But right before they move, Takaru pieces it together. They haven't been following him. Their target all along has been Araki. Too late for them to back out now. They crossed the line. And Takaru doesn't just shut them down, he goes after whoever's been tailing Araki too. As Shima and Yashio collapse, a phone starts ringing beside them. It's their leader calling in. Takaru answers the call himself. Without waiting for pleasantries, he immediately asks what someone like the leader of such a major guild wants with a civilian like him. The leader doesn't dodge the question, he responds directly. He wants Takaru to join his team. Takaru refuses without hesitation. In response, the leader lets out a joking warning. If that's really his answer, he'll have no choice but to report Takaru to the Hunter Association. But his tone gives it away, he doesn't actually plan to go that far. That's not the goal. What he really wants is for Takaru to exist as a secret weapon going forward. No spotlight, no official record. He even emphasizes that there are no obligations involved. Still, knowing Takaru won't agree so easily, the leader sends him a photo, his parents, lying unconscious in bed. Takaru's heart fills with worry, a sick weight sinking into his gut. The leader calmly says there's no need to panic. He didn't kill them. All he did was poison them. But there's a catch. The poison can't be cured by any medicine from this world. It's untreatable by normal means. The only thing that can save them is the antidote, and right now, only the leader has it. Naturally, he won't hand it over unless Takaru agrees to his terms. The deal's set. He asks Takaru to come to his place alone, no friends, no backup. Takaru understands. Bringing anyone along would only slow things down. He doesn't waste time arguing. There's no other choice. With his parents now in the hospital, Takaru heads straight to the boss's location. As soon as he arrives, Echidna, the boss's cold, unshakable assistant, is already there waiting, guiding him wordlessly through the building. While they make their way toward the meeting room, she casually tells Takaru that restaurants like these are used as bases all over Japan. Even the one he was in before had been one of them, hidden in plain sight. It looks like any other hallway, so you'd expect the meeting to happen in a normal room. But as soon as they step into an empty chamber, the mood shifts. Echidna stops and points to what looks like a swirling black hole. She tells him the boss is waiting beyond it. Without flinching, Takaru steps through and instantly finds himself surrounded. A swarm of monsters stands ready, closing in from all sides. But none of them attack. They don't even move without instruction. These things are under the boss's full control, bound to obey him no matter what. Right then, it finally clicks for Takaru. The chaos that's rocked the city over the past few days, it's all been orchestrated by this man. He stares at the boss, waiting for a denial, but the guy doesn't even try to hide it. He admits it openly, says he only caused all that destruction to test Takaru's potential. Then he laughs, talking about how Gato won't stop crying over the incident. Says it's so hilarious, he just can't resist doing it again and again. Takaru's blood starts to boil. He asks straight up if this was the plan from the start. The boss doesn't hesitate, of course it was. Every bit of this was designed to tear everything down, the rules, the guilds, the hunters. He wants to wipe it all out and rule Japan himself, with these monsters by his side. But Takaru doesn't buy it. He tells him there's no way. No matter how many monsters he unleashes, sooner or later, order always comes back. The boss doesn't blink. He's already considered every consequence. Even if the association sends in an S-rank reinforcement, or a top-tier controller, he's ready. He's got more trump cards waiting in the dark. Shockingly, the boss hands Takaru the antidote, just like that. No conditions, no tricks. The move catches Takaru completely off guard. According to the boss, he always planned to give it to him after showing him the view. There was never any intent to turn Takaru into an enemy. Even so, Takaru clearly doesn't buy it. Not after what he pulled with his parents. But instead of defending himself, the boss just nods. He says he understands exactly how Takaru feels, the weight of hiding that kind of power. For years, people like Takaru have been chained down. Controlled. Public opinion has been weaponized to keep them in check, to paint them as dangerous. The truth is simple. The world will never accept people like him. Then the boss turns the question on him. Why does someone like Takaru even need power? He's convinced that deep down, Takaru wants to break free, that there's a part of him that wants to unleash everything he's been holding back. That's why he extends his hand. He offers Takaru a chance to use that power, not hide it. To take over the world alongside him. But Takaru doesn't even flinch. He throws the antidote to the floor, hard, and rejects the offer on the spot. He's already seen through it. The poison wasn't some mystery substance, it was basilisk venom. Takaru already cured his parents himself. The boss freezes stunned. He demands to know how in the world Takara even recognized that kind of venom. It hasn't even appeared in this world yet. Takara doesn't answer. He just stares him down and calls him out. He didn't come here to talk. He came here to fight, because to him, that power exists for one reason only, to protect the peaceful days that actually matter. So if anyone dares threaten the life he's trying to protect, then he'll crush them. The boss, fully aware of his own strength, doesn't back down. He gives the order. The monsters all charge at once. Takara raises his arm. With one massive flame burst, he incinerates every last one of them in a single strike. But that still doesn't stop the boss. If anything, it fires him up even more. He's ready to keep going. The boss declares he'll keep going until Takara runs out of power. With that, he unleashes his summoning ability, forcing monsters to appear and obey his commands through magic. Just from the way he does it, Takara immediately realizes this man isn't ordinary at all. There's a strong chance he's a rank S hunter. That means Takara can't afford to hold back. He starts launching his strongest attacks one after another, not giving the boss a moment to breathe. The boss can't deny it anymore. Takara is a gifted irregular. His spells are more overwhelming than most, and his presence on the battlefield is undeniable. But because Takara is proving too difficult to handle, the boss calls out to his assistant. It's time to bring out his trump card. At her signal, the boss finally unveils the monster he's been keeping hidden, an 8-headed beast, the Hydra. The moment it appears, Takara freezes for a second. It's the first time he's seen a creature of that size. Somehow, even seeing it with his own eyes, it doesn't feel real. That something like this could even exist in this world, it's hard to believe. When it launches its first attack, the monster shows no sign of pain. This leads Takara to think this particular creature doesn't react to pain at all. But as he keeps attacking, he finds that each of the Hydra's heads does feel pain individually. The real challenge, though, is that it can regenerate. Since Hydra is an immortal monster, no matter how strong a hunter is, there's no way to beat a creature like this. Still, Takara doesn't believe in something like true immortality. He's fought enemies like this before. It would be fine, if only the boss hadn't underestimated him. There's still a chance to turn this around. He believes there are no truly immortal beings. If the monster keeps regenerating every time it's damaged, the only way to defeat it is to blow it all up at once. But it turns out Hydra is a lot smarter than he expected. For some reason, it keeps trying to interrupt his mana buildup, which makes things annoying. Takara knows he'll have to keep track of everything. When he tries freezing the Hydra's heads after cutting them off, he makes a new discovery. It takes about 3 seconds to regenerate, so he plans to launch rapid spells during those 3 seconds. However, Takara feels that this isn't enough. So, as much as possible, he tries to figure out if this monster has any other weakness. After a few seconds, he discovers the monster's weakness is its tail. Using his power, he brings it down with a single strike. Seeing his trump card fall before him feels like a dream to the boss. But that doesn't mean he'll give up, he's more motivated than ever. However, no matter how many counterattacks he unleashes, Takara turns out to be much stronger. Even if he uses his other deadly monsters to attack, they too will be defeated. With her master in trouble, Echidna steps in to help. At first, Takara thinks Echidna is just another monster he could take down in one hit. But to his surprise, it turns out Takara's speculation was wrong. Echidna is a demon much more powerful than he imagined. The fact that Takara knows about demons shocks Echidna. She didn't expect anyone in this world to be aware of their existence. This even makes her think that Takara could be the man spoken of in the prophecy. Meanwhile, Takara remains calm as he remembers the time when he was in the other world, where he was always told to kill demons no matter what. For some reason, Echidna also feels an overwhelming fear just from seeing Takara. It's as if she's facing the demon lord. She begins to ask herself what she should do now. Suddenly, the boss gives her permission to do whatever she wants, since he's already lost everything. Every monster, and even the Hydra, are dead. He also has no mana left. So it's better to leave everything in Echidna's hands for now. This leaves Echidna no choice but to proceed with the plan she intended to carry out after all the hunters were eliminated. Hearing this, the boss is slightly shocked. This means she also planned to get rid of him. But now that there's nothing he can do about it, he puts in all the effort he can to buy Echidna the time she needs, doing everything possible to keep Takara from moving an inch. On the other hand, Echidna begins executing her plan. Since there's a dimensional wall separating the two worlds, a small hole, like a door, can't cause much damage, but what would happen if the dimensional wall disappeared? With that said, Echidna proceeds to give birth to what she calls her son Typhos. This child of hers, as she names him, will be the one to kill even God. While all this is happening, a rift suddenly opens, connecting both worlds. People trying to carry on with their day become frightened now that dozens of doors are appearing. On the other hand, it seems that Echidna is also beginning to feel the changes within herself. Now it's only a matter of time to discover whether things will end as Echidna wants, or Takaru will win this battle. 10 years ago, at the age of 13, the boss, Jean, enters his first portal. Although carrying everyone's bag is quite heavy, the boss at that moment keeps his head high, knowing he is under the good care of his superiors. Well, that's what he believes at first, until things start to change. During the time they are being chased by monsters, his superiors leave him behind, telling him that since he entered the portal at such a young age, he should have been strong enough to manage on his own. At that moment, the young man thinks it's the end for him, but it turns out things don't end as he thought. In that moment, Echidna is the demon chasing them, and seeing the young Jean left behind surprises her. Since this boy already survived so much, Echidna decides to save him, but there's an exchange, and it's only between the two of them. After that traumatic event, when he finally arrives at the hospital, he collapses in sheer exhaustion. He asks his teammates why they used him as bait, and the fact that he receives no penalty only makes things worse. His teammates then justify it to the organization. It was technically an accident, not deliberate bait. Since one teammate died, the others pressure him to stay silent. And because his testimony can't be verified, nothing can be done. That's Hunter Association policy. So in the end, he accepts Echidna's terms. Now he will crush the Hunter Association, and as long as Echidna gives him the power, he vows to give everything to ensure they win. At this point, since he and Echidna are already halfway there, he can't help but feel a slight sense of relief, until he sees that Takaru is still alive and well. But that doesn't mean Takaru isn't struggling. He can't deny how strong Echidna is, considering everything. No power affects her at all. Takaru is having a rough time. He knows that if he wants to win, he has to figure out Echidna's weaknesses. He needs to dodge every attack as best as he can. In the middle of the fight, Echidna declares that she and her child are now united, becoming the strongest being in existence. At this point, even others won't be able to ignore her. But now Takaru's body is reaching its limit. If he doesn't finish this soon, he might face defeat. Echidna believes there's no way Takaru's attacks will work on her. But that doesn't mean Takaru plans to give up. Using his wind burst, he cuts off Echidna's head in a single blow. Turns out he was able to detect her weakness, since she's the one controlling the monster. Dealing with her directly is much easier than handling Typhos. Still, Echidna isn't giving up either. At this point, her mind begins to unravel. She's losing control over Typhos's power. Desperate to turn things around, she tries to threaten Takaru by saying she'll go after his family and everyone he cares about. But Takaru doesn't want anyone dragged into this mess, especially not his family. So he simply throws Echidna a furious glare. For some reason, she starts to feel a cold, rising fear. She never thought she'd feel it again. Now she starts wondering, if she's gained such immense power, why is she still afraid of a mere child? It makes her remember those painful days when her family despised her. Tears begin to stream down her face. She tries to hold them back, knowing this weakness exists only in her mind. Back then she was powerless, but now she's different. That's why, as much as possible, she'll seek revenge on everyone who mocked her. She'll do whatever it takes to make them feel despair. She'll have to kill this boy, whom she believes is the one from the prophecy everyone seeks, even if it costs her life in the attempt. Meanwhile, it seems Takaru is also recalling his time in the other world. There was a moment when he and Edel were resting in the forest. Edel excitedly tells him that, this time, many people are traveling with him. That means this journey will be quite enjoyable. But Edel still wonders if it was right to refuse. All of them even offered to join another group to take down the Demon Lord. Immediately, Takaru says that everyone has the right to do so, since it's a dangerous mission. He also thinks they couldn't keep up with his pace. Edel wholeheartedly agrees. If her memory doesn't fail, there was even a time when Takaru left his horse and suddenly started running. There was a moment when he decided to climb a cliff, so clearly, no one could keep up with his pace. Besides, Edel knows that Takaru doesn't trust people easily, even when all they do is praise his power. It seems he's more comfortable being alone. But no matter how much he denies it, he loves it when Edel stays by his side, watching over him when things don't go as planned. Thanks to her, his wounds always heal in time. That's why, no matter what, he won't let the current situation break him. Even though he's only scratched the surface of Typhos, that doesn't mean he won't give everything he's got. Now that he knows where Echidna's real body is, all that's left is to destroy her with all his strength. But since his energy is starting to fade, his movements have turned sluggish, and Echidna notices. Takaru knows this woman would be easy to handle if not for his body reaching its limit. He can't cast powerful spells as fast as before. Still, he's not too worried. The same must be happening to Echidna. Typhos is likely draining her life force, and she's relying on it to stay upright. If that's the case, there's just one thing left he has to do. Echidna, being sharp as ever, immediately realizes Takaru has uncovered the source of Typhos's power. So it's useless to wait for her death, since she's also draining the life force from humans in this world. On top of that, Typhos's followers are already overflowing into Japan. So no matter what Takara does now, everything will end in death anyway. But instead of giving up, Takara thinks, if that's the case, then he needs to get back to the other side quickly. Still, once he kills her, he wonders if he'll even be able to move at all. At this point, he doesn't know what to do. Turns out, Echidna is fully aware of the fact that if Takara kills her, Typhos will spiral out of control. That could be the reason she believes he won't kill her at all. But it looks like she's wrong. Takara shows no signs of backing down. Meanwhile in Tokyo, Japan, the guilds are working hard to keep everything under control as much as possible. Gato and his teammates especially are doing their best to stay optimistic during these dark times, so people won't panic. Then there are the hunters from Orin Academy. While they fight monsters, they keep shouting Sakura's name, proudly showing where they stand. Zoa is quite confident. He claims to exist to protect the peace and citizens from evil monsters. Suddenly, a monster traps him and his teammates panic. Fortunately, Sakura arrives just in time before things get worse. Even though Zoa seems like a rank S hunter, he knows that rank S is still a distant dream. Meanwhile, Sakura runs from one location to another, making sure everything is under control. Having finished fighting monsters in the city center, she moves to the next area. People can't believe how much power she wields. In Sakura's mind, no matter what appears, she'll overcome it. Back with Takaru, he's doing everything he can not to get defeated. Even Echidna is startled by Takaru's power. She's never seen anything like it. As her subordinates fall one by one, she can't help feeling a bit concerned. Amid this tense battle, Takaru remembers what he once told himself. The reason he couldn't trust his former companions was because he knew his strength surpassed theirs, so he distanced himself before they could. He was too proud of his power to look around. Now, having learned his lesson, he's decided to share it with Jean. According to Takaru, a majority of people will not become powerful, but if you look closely around, you'll find people who can. Takaru is deeply thankful to the two of them. Because of them, he realizes he's not fighting alone. As things begin to spiral out of control, Echidna finally decides to sacrifice herself to end it all with one final strike. But no matter how much she gives up, Takaru always ends up on top. He takes control of the entire situation, and something inside Echidna begins to break. The demon can't believe what she's seeing. Takaru hasn't just killed Typhos, he's erased the creature's existence completely. It's clear now that the power he holds surpasses what humans should be capable of. As Takaru approaches her, Echidna instinctively recoils. She can't help but fear him. But Takaru doesn't attack right away. He has a question before ending it for good. He asks her about the prophecy she's been going on about. Struggling to speak, Echidna tries to explain, it's a power like his. But before she can finish, a sword shoots out from a dark portal and pierces her body. She quickly realizes her wound isn't regenerating. She's dying. Watching her fate hits Jean hard. No matter what else happened, they were allies for a long time. Letting go of that kind of bond isn't easy. As he watches her collapse, memories flood back, the good and the bad. Seeing her like this feels like punishment. Still, instead of reacting, Echidna tries to hold a smile, one last expression to keep Jean from falling apart. But it doesn't matter anymore. His heart is already shattered. Rage boils over, and now he's ready to kill Takaru no matter what. Before he can move, a group of strangers appears. Takaru freezes. He didn't expect any more visitors. Calmly, he asks who they are. Without hesitation, the three step forward. They introduce themselves as Ryer, Sukuna, and the Dark Knight. Takaru can tell just by looking, they're strong. Not a flicker of doubt in their expressions. And if he's forced to push himself any further, his body might fall apart. So now he's stuck wondering what move to make next. Suddenly, the group assures him they're not there to fight. He doesn't need to stay on edge. They explain they only came to deal with a traitor, Echidna. So technically, they have no interest in Takaru. They're also here to recover something they call a trade secret. Once they get what they came for, they immediately start preparing to leave. But knowing Takaru, he's not about to let them walk off that easily. Still, Ryer speaks up. He knows Takaru is exhausted. He tells him to take it easy for now. They'll definitely meet again. So, there's no need to rush. Seeing demons again makes Takaru wonder if this world is the same one he once knew, but deep down, he already knows it's not. Back in the city, the aftermath is devastating. Countless lives lost. The damage from this outbreak is beyond anything on record. The man responsible is quickly arrested by the Hunter Association, so people should feel at ease now. For some reason, Jean doesn't resist. Maybe he's finally weighed down by guilt. As they escort him toward the station, he can't stop thinking about what Takaru said earlier. He's been digging into the association for a while, and he's sure now they've never stood for justice. He knows his time is probably almost up. Luckily, his team hasn't abandoned him. While the transport car is in motion, one of his men detonates an explosive. In the blink of an eye, Jin's comrades reach his side. Before the fight begins, their leader turns to them. Anyone who's not ready to die should back out now. They're finishing this, once and for all. Meanwhile, over at Kazumi's municipal hospital, Takeru's parents are fully recovered. They're preparing to return home. Outside the hospital, Takeru steps into the sunlight. The warmth tells him summer break is just around the corner. Ryer and his team make their way back to the castle, returning in high spirits. He reports to the princess that, following her orders, they've taken care of Echidna and recovered the stolen Pandora. Ryer also mentions that he released the man he believed to be connected to the Messiah prophecy. The princess doesn't mind at all. She smiles and says it's fine, insisting that their time hasn't come yet. Sitting beside her, Sukuna sulks, clearly upset about missing the chance to play with her little brother. She's on the verge of tears, but the princess gently strokes her cheek like a cat, soothing her instantly. The princess then glances up at the dark night and shoots him a sly smirk, suggesting that things may unfold just as she expects. The next day, over at Japan's Hunter Association headquarters, an emergency meeting is called. Lionheart Renya, an S-Class hunter, is leading the session. He's under the impression that every S-Class hunter in the country has been summoned, so the turnout should be massive. But when he steps into the auditorium, he's floored. Only 5 people have shown up. Stunned, Renya blurts out how strange it is, unable to figure out what's going on. Another hunter chimes in, pointing out that Hebikawa lost his S-Class status, so the total number is actually 49, not 50. Sakura calmly raises her hand, saying there's no sense in yelling at the ones who actually showed up. Another huntress finally jumps into their argument. It's the S-Class hunter Karen. She rolls her eyes at the whole setup and says holding face-to-face meetings in times like this is basically ancient history for their generation. She makes it obvious she's only here because she had to be, otherwise she would have stayed home. Renya tries to explain that the reason for meeting is to discuss something sensitive, but Karen just shrugs and says if it's that private, they should just move the conversation to a bar and grab something good to eat. Instantly, one of the other hunters gets excited and says he's down if there's food involved, he'll take a beppu too. Renya feels his blood pressure rising. He's convinced the association's hunters have gotten way too relaxed and are just looking for any excuse to skip out on actual work. He yells at the room, saying if they kept spending the association's budget on bars and brothels, the public would have burned them all at the stake ages ago. Karen just winks and tells him she's working hard, just not the way he wants. She's happy taking things slow. Renya snaps, shouting that all these private hunters do whatever they want while the real work gets dumped on the association's people. He rants that all the extras are just a money drain. Karen interrupts and tells everyone to quit with the pointless arguing. She honestly doesn't care, but her friends jump in to defend her anyway. At this point, Renya is so furious he's literally grinding his teeth. Karen notices and blushes, nervously telling Renya that he looks seriously scary right now. One of the hunters, an S-Class named Hideo, steps up and gives one of the guys a solid slap on the back. He tells Tenku to get it together and sit up straight, reminding him for the 100th time that slouching is terrible for a hunter, especially for someone with his title, the Assassin of the Abyss. Tenku just groans, asking him not to use that name and saying he's already said it 1,000,000 times. With a tired look, Tenku covers his ears, complaining that Hideo is way too loud and his head is already pounding. Hideo just laughs and gives him another friendly smack, joking about how impressive it is for someone to make it 24 years as an S-Class hunter and still be single. Tenku shoots him a flat glare, saying talking to this old man is exhausting. Hideo switches gears and turns to Karen, dragging her into the conversation about Tenku. He asks what she thinks, and Karen walks over, eyeing the awkward assassin. She admits she actually has a type. She likes kind-hearted guys who'd go the extra mile for people weaker than themselves. She even calls Tenku by name, which makes him instantly flustered. Karen then apologizes, saying Tenku just isn't her type, so he's out of luck. Tenku forces a smile, realizing he's been rejected before he even got the chance to say anything. He half jokes about calling it a day and heading home now that his illusions are completely shattered. Hideo, still not ready to let it drop, tries asking Sakura for her take. Sakura quickly apologizes, politely shutting him down by saying she's just not interested in any relationships at all. Tank looks completely out of place now, so uncomfortable that he wonders why he even bothered showing up and decides he might as well just head home. Hideo tries to cheer him up, telling Tenku to keep his chin up because his perfect match is bound to come along eventually. Karen grins and backs up Hideo's pep talk, but Tenku just sighs and tells them both they're being way too loud. Renya quickly cuts in, ordering everyone to quiet down and focus. Right then, a man walks into the room, looking around and commenting that it's good to see everyone in such high spirits. This is Mei, the president of the Hunter Association. He greets the handful of hunters in attendance with a friendly smile. Renya immediately tells everyone to listen up, announcing that the man in front of them is the association president, so everyone needs to show some respect. But Mei is taken aback when he actually looks around and sees how empty the auditorium is. Just Karen, Sakura, Tenkyu, and Hideo are left. The president apologizes for calling such a sudden meeting and says that, on his orders, anyone not present will be personally updated by Renya later. Renya stands there, jaw dropped, and then just buries his face in his hands in defeat. Mei doesn't waste any more time. He smiles politely and dives straight into the main issue. First on the agenda is the recent terrorist attack. He wants to discuss what happened, making it clear that the attack was carried out by Hibikawa. Karen sits there thinking that this guy clearly has a personal grudge, but Tenkyu figures the guy is just full of himself and has a big guild. The director's grin only grows wider as he drops his big news. He's got fresh information about the attack. With a steady voice, he stuns everyone in the room by revealing that they've officially confirmed demon involvement in the recent terrorist attack. Karen is completely lost at first, struggling to figure out what kind of demons the director is even talking about. Seeing the confusion, the director explains that he's talking about the people who live inside the gate, outsiders, strangers to this world. Tenkyu, who already knew about advanced life beyond the gate, always figured that civilization must have crumbled out there ages ago. Instead, it turns out those lands are teeming with monsters. Hideo isn't surprised that some in the room have no clue about this. He jumps in, saying that demons only appeared once, about 20 years back. They defeated humanity's strongest, and then vanished. Tenkyu and Karen shoot him a pair of puzzled looks, both of them still trying to process what this actually means. Karen can't understand why the public never learned about any of this. Hideo clarifies the ugly truth: these demons look human, but in reality, they're monsters through and through. Karen goes pale, seized by genuine fear and horror at the thought. The director lays it out. According to Igarashi's report, there's no way to establish any sort of dialogue with these demons. If their existence ever became public, the fallout would be chaotic. Some people would flat out refuse to believe it, others would try to make contact on their own, and the uncertainty would only get worse from there. Because of all that, the existence of demons is now top secret, known only to the S-class hunters gathered in this room. Tenkyu doesn't get why they're supposed to take part in a cover-up like this. The director just stays cool, explaining that it's for the good of the whole community. Tenkyu lets out a long sigh, clearly not thrilled with the answer but letting it go for now. Right then, Sakura can't help remembering what happened to her as a kid, the moment when demons killed her parents right in front of her eyes. Back then, she always thought it was just some kind of humanoid monster, but the more she thinks about it now, the more she suspects it might have been demons. Before Sakura can bring it up, the director switches gears and snaps his fingers on his control panel. An image suddenly flashes up on the giant screen in front of them, and the director tells everyone the next topic is about this guy. Sakura is completely shocked as she sees Takara's face appear. The director starts explaining, saying this is the guy who took down the entire Ouroboros guild all by himself. His name is Kusanagi Takaru. Hideo and Tenkyu both focus on the screen, watching carefully. Earlier, Takaru heard the news that Hibikawa had been caught by the association, but Renya mentions that while they managed to get to him, he still slipped away, and the only reason they even found him was by checking the security cameras. Sakura lets out another heavy sigh, feeling even more tired. The director keeps going, pointing out that Takaru isn't a member of the Hunters Association, so they really need to figure out who he is. He asks if anyone here has any info on the guy, ready to listen to anything they can share, wanting every bit of detail. Karen can't look away from the guy on the screen. Takaru's got her full attention, and a blush creeps up her cheeks. The director just laughs at the sight, sinking back in his chair, then turns to Renya and points out how everyone went completely quiet by the end. Renya asks what this whole dramatic meeting was even for. He's already figured out that the director only called in the four of them, and dragged them into this for a reason. It's got Renya so stressed his stomach's basically doing flips. The director, though, just says Renya's got good instincts, and he trusts him to keep all of this under wraps. Renya doesn't reply, just shoots him a frown, still not loving any of it. The principal, meanwhile, seems pretty amused as he flashes back to the look on Renya's face when he first walked into the nearly empty auditorium. Renya finally asks him to quit replaying that memory. He bows to the director, saying he'll keep playing his part like always, but he's going to step away for now. As soon as the director's alone, he pulls up his screen and a new panel pops up, cycling through several old photos of kids. In those pictures, Takara stands with the rest of the children, and there's even an old man with them too. The director sits back, smirking to himself, already thinking ahead to what's coming for all of them next. The next day, Sakura isn't quite herself. She walks around with her cheeks puffed out, deep in thought about Kusanagi. His name came up in that big meeting, and now all her efforts to keep things quiet feel pointless. It doesn't matter how long she tried to hide it, the secret's out. Still, Sakura figures that if Kusanagi's being secretive, he's got his reasons, so she shoots him a message and tells him to contact her as soon as he can. She needs to talk to him first, before anything else goes down. Right after sending the message, Sakura hears someone call her name. She turns and finds the director standing there. He tells Sakura that the recent incident is tied to Ouroboros, the same ones who poisoned her friend's parents. The association isn't going to pursue him, so she shouldn't worry. The principal plans to invite Kusanagi himself to help clear things up. It dawns on Sakura that she's probably the only one the director has confided in about all this. He just gives her a gentle smile, saying the only reason he told her is that her and Kusanagi are actually friends. As they head out together, the director even admits that he's kept things friendly between them all along. Once Sakura's alone in the hallway, she starts seriously thinking about what it means for someone like Kusanagi to actually be friends with her. The idea really gets under her skin. She even closes her eyes, turning it over in her mind. She's not sure what to make of it, so she looks up what friends are supposed to be. Apparently, friends are people who are open with each other, but Sakura feels like whatever she and Kusanagi have is something different from all that. While Sakura is still agonizing over what it really means to be friends, a cheerful little girl runs over, calling out for her big sister. It's Momiji, all smiles as she says she came just to see Sakura. She adds that their grandfather is waiting in the car, but right now she's just happy to see her sister. Noticing Sakura's wide-eyed look, Momiji wonders what's on her mind. Sakura quickly grins, saying she's just thinking. Momiji wipes away a few joyful tears. Finally seeing each other again after so long has her a bit emotional. Sakura, thrown off by the sudden tears, apologizes and tells her not to cry. To cheer her up, Sakura promises if Momiji forgives her, she'll do anything for her. That gets Momiji's full attention. She makes Sakura promise she's not lying, and Sakura reassures her with a bright smile. Momiji's eyes sparkle and she beams with happiness. Without a second thought, she shows Sakura a picture and excitedly suggests a new place to visit. The next day, the sisters head out to the busy shopping center together. Meanwhile, Takaru is making his way home with several shopping bags. Summer's in full swing, and the center is crowded, but he manages to buy everything he needs. It's only been a week since the big incident, but the association's restoration squad have already repaired the building. Takaru is happy to have a new phone. His old one was wrecked during the fight with Typhos, and he's grabbed some camping gear and other necessities. Just then, Momiji, still brimming with energy, rushes up, showing off her new outfit. She's about to snap a picture of Sakura, but ends up bumping right into Takaru instead. Takaru crouches down and apologizes, reaching out his hand to Momiji. She quickly shakes her head and says it was her fault for bumping into him. Takaru's eyes catch the familiar ribbon on Momiji's head, and just then, Sakura comes running over, a bit flustered by the unexpected encounter. She's clearly surprised to see Kusanagi here. Takaru greets Sakura with a friendly smile, guessing that she and her little sister must be out shopping together. But instead of matching his mood, Sakura frowns and brings up the message she sent him. She says she waited a long time for his reply but never got one. Momiji looks from her sister to Takaru, sensing the tension, while Takaru awkwardly admits his phone was broken and he was planning to text her after buying a new one. Momiji, remembering a romantic drama she once watched with her grandmother, decides to chime in. She recalls how the woman in the show seemed scary when angry, but her grandma had said it just meant she missed her favorite jerk. Momiji's eyes sparkle as she points right at Takaru and blurts out that he's her sister's boyfriend. For a second, everyone stands frozen, staring at Momiji and her big, innocent grin. Sakura, snapping back to reality, immediately protests that it's not true at all. But Momiji insists there's no reason to hide it. After all, it's normal for their age. Sakura, blushing and flustered, doesn't know how to handle her sister's boldness. Eventually, she manages to stammer out that Takaru is just her friend, nothing more. Takaru stares at Sakura, surprised, noticing how she stumbles over her own answer. Sakura hesitantly tries to clarify, saying they're just acquaintances. Momiji, taking her words literally, figures that must mean they're not even friends and turns to Takaru for his answer. Takaru quickly fills the silence, telling Momiji that Sakura is actually pretty popular at school, and being her friend is honestly an honor for him. He admits he's just surprised to run into her like this. Momiji lights up at his words, and Sakura flushes at the unexpected praise. Takaru keeps it going, playfully claiming that everyone at school wants to be friends with Sakura. Momiji is thrilled to learn her sister is so cool, and she throws her hands up, insisting that Takaru should join them for shopping. Caught off guard by the invitation, Takaru can't bring himself to refuse. It's a bright, sunny day, perfect for a trip out. Momiji happily grabs Sakura's hand, and Takaru walks alongside them, the three of them blending right in with the weekend crowd. The group's energy is upbeat as Momiji tries on a long, elegant dress, while her sister stands there, embarrassed by all the attention. Next, they swing by a weapon shop, which Momiji finds boring, but Sakura and Takaru are all over it, checking out the selection. Later, when they pass a lingerie shop, Sakura immediately waves her sister away, blushing hard, while Takaru discreetly steps back and tries to act invisible. As they wander the mall, Sakura's eyes land on an interesting shop upstairs, but before she can check it out, Takaru gently nudges her forward so she doesn't get left behind. After a long round of shopping, the trio grabs Momiji's favorite ice cream, which leaves the girl completely delighted, and they settle onto a bench for a much-needed break. While they're chilling, the story cuts over to a pair of huntresses celebrating with cocktails at a nearby table. One of them raises her glass and announces that their party just got bumped up to B rank. She clinks her glass with her partner, all smiles, feeling like their hard work finally paid off. The other guy at the table is less impressed, still annoyed that he failed with the last gate closing. Another girl, cheerful and upbeat, nudges him to have fun and relax, at least for a little while. Just as she takes a sip from her cocktail, she spots Takaru and Sakura walking by with Momiji. She nearly chokes on her drink, surprised by the sight. From the angle, it looks like the two might be on a date, but then they notice Momiji tagging along. None of them expected to see Takaru and Sakura together in public like this. One of the girls gets stars in her eyes, thinking the whole situation looks way too romantic. She would love to know what their story is. Meanwhile, one guy notices his friend Mamoru's serious expression and asks what's up. Seeing that Mamoru is visibly tense, he guesses he must be nervous about the sudden promotion. Mamoru quietly admits that he just isn't good at relaxing, which makes him laugh, saying Mamoru's way too uptight. Back at the carousel, Momiji laughs and waves to her sister as she rides by. Sakura waves back with a smile, then turns to Takaru, a little irritated that he made up that story earlier about everyone wanting to be friends with her. Takaru feels pretty awkward and quickly apologizes to Sakura, but deep down, he still thinks what he said about her wasn't exactly a lie. After everything that's happened, Sakura can't bring herself to think badly of Takaru. She figures Kusanagi fights for the sake of his parents, and she's sure there's a genuinely kind person underneath his rough edges. Meanwhile, Takaru stands there, still super awkward, assuming Sakura is mad at him for all the confusion. Earlier, the director had told Sakura he wanted to invite Kusanagi, but he spoke about him like they'd known each other forever, which only makes things more confusing. Sakura can't figure out the director's angle, and honestly, she doesn't even really know the person standing right in front of her. She looks at Takaru, doubting whether he really has amnesia like he says. Even if he calls her a friend, she realizes she actually knows nothing about him. Sakura wants to ask Takaru a real question and get some answers, but just then, he notices that the carousel has stopped. The worker signals for everyone to come take their seats or pick up their stuff, but as Takaru looks around, he sees that Momiji still hasn't come back. Sakura, suddenly worried, starts to panic. This really shouldn't be happening. As both of them scramble to look for Momiji, it turns out the little girl has decided to give the two of them some alone time and slipped away on her own. From the side, Momiji had been watching her older sister constantly glancing at Takaru, and in her mind, the whole situation looked totally different. Deciding that she'd just get in the way if she hung around, Momiji makes up her mind. She'll play Cupid and let the two of them have some alone time. As she slips away, Momiji ends up wandering through the crowd and soon spots a little boy sitting all alone in a quiet corner, tears streaming down his face. She's too curious to walk past him. Momiji walks up and guesses that the boy is lost, so she smiles and gently suggests they search for his parents together. The two start making their way through some nearby bushes, but just as they do, things take a sudden turn. Passers-by begin to panic, running in every direction and screaming. Someone shouts that a gate has appeared, telling everyone to save themselves. Momiji turns around and sees the rift for herself. She instantly knows they need to get out of there. Looking at the terrified little boy who's frozen in shock, Momiji grabs his hand, promising him that everything will be okay. She tells him not to be scared and asks him to just keep holding her hand tightly. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the crowd, Sakura and Takaru are frantically searching for Momiji. Sakura is scanning everywhere, calling her sister's name over and over, but there's no sign of her. Sakura clutches her head in panic, silently praying to find her sister, but Takaru tells her to calm down. Thinking fast, he suggests they try searching from above or head straight to the mall staff to report Momiji missing. Just then, a terrified crowd comes rushing toward them, breathless and wide-eyed. In the chaos, a few recognize Takaru and Sakura. The group frantically explains that a rift just opened behind them, and monsters are pouring out. Sakura can barely process what she's hearing, but people start begging her to do something. They're desperate for help. Takaru quickly asks if any of them have seen a little girl, around 5 years old, dressed just like Sakura with a big ribbon in her hair. Someone in the crowd suddenly remembers seeing a kid like that near the rift. Hearing that, Sakura's heart skips a beat. She and Takaru instantly drop their shopping bags and take off running toward the rift. Meanwhile, Momiji and the boy are crouched in the bushes nearby, trying to stay hidden from the huge monster now lumbering past. The little boy is sobbing uncontrollably, but Momiji holds him close, gently telling him everything will be all right and trying her best to comfort him, even though she knows they're in real danger. Momiji thinks her sister is strong and trusts she'll definitely come to save them. When the boy looks up, his eyes go wide with fear. At the same time, Sakura rushes desperately toward her sister. Memories from days long past flash through her mind. Back then, her parents urged her to run, handing her Momiji and begging her to protect her little sister. Sakura remembers her wounded mother's smile, telling her everything would be fine and that they'd catch up soon. Holding Momiji tightly, Sakura runs, but keeps looking back at her parents, doing her best to hide the terror that she might lose her mother and father as well. Again, the memory of watching her parents killed right in front of her flashes in her mind. Takara shouts Sakura's name, pointing to where her sister is. He looks to the left and calls out to Momiji. The girl turns and finally sees her sister, realizing that she and the boy are sitting right in front of a monster. Looks like, while running away, they fell, and now the creature is ready to attack. Sakura screams for her sister, and Momiji reaches out, stretching her hand desperately as danger closes in. Sakura realizes she needs to get even faster, but no matter how hard she tries, she just can't close the distance in time. She watches in terror as the monster's massive hammer nearly crashes down right on her frightened little sister. Sakura screams Momiji's name, tears of pure panic streaming down her face. But just as the monster swings, someone suddenly drops in and lands a solid hit right on its head, stopping it from hurting Momiji. Takaru appears above Momiji, launching a heavy kick straight from the monster's shoulder. The creature staggers back, struggling to stay on its feet after the powerful blow. Takaru coolly warns the monster that scaring kids is out of line, and thinks it would make a terrible mascot. Without wasting a second, he activates his freezing magic. A glowing seal forms under his hand, and the monster is instantly frozen into huge blocks of ice. As soon as Takaru lands, the ice shatters, splitting the monster into small pieces. After everything settles, Sakura takes Momiji to run a few errands, while Takaru waits for them on a bench. Sakura apologizes for making him wait, but Takaru just assumes they finished up everything they needed to do. She explains she already talked to the police, and everything's fine. They even found the lost boy's parents and reunited them. Sakura turns to Kusanagi, sincerely thanking him for everything he's done for them. As a hunter, Sakura knows she's supposed to keep her cool, but in the end, it's Takaru who has to step in and save them with his own strength. She apologizes to him for relying on him again. Takaru just tells her not to worry about it. He reminds her that she can always count on him. Honestly, he figures he's the one who usually causes more trouble for her anyway. Momiji walks up and thanks her big brother for saving them. Takaru smiles, sits down, and gently asks her not to run off from her sister again, since Sakura was really worried. Momiji looks genuinely sorry for causing trouble, but Takaru takes a moment to praise her for protecting the lost boy earlier. Momiji lights up, thrilled to be praised, but Sakura's thoughts drift back to how the hero moved. She can't shake how skilled and confident he was in the fight. She's dying to know who Takaru really is. She admits she doesn't want to suspect him of anything but feels like she has to ask. There's a tense, awkward pause as Takaru lowers his gaze, clearly not sure how to explain things. Right in that heavy moment, Momiji climbs up onto the bench between them, physically pushing them apart. She begs them not to fight, then declares that they should make up with a reconciliatory kiss. Momiji insists a kiss would fix everything. Takaru tries to laugh it off and asks her to settle down, while Sakura is left speechless. Smiling, Sakura says her sister can be way too stubborn sometimes and apologizes for the scene. With the tension broken, Sakura scoops Momiji up and invites Takaru to walk home together. On the way back, Takaru can't help noticing how close Sakura and Momiji are as sisters. The sight actually makes him smile. He even admits he's a little jealous. Sakura admits she does spoil her sister sometimes, but he just says it's cute. Glancing down at Momiji, who's fallen asleep in her arms, Sakura says her little sister is her treasure. She quietly explains that their parents were killed when they were both young, so Sakura has always tried to fill in as a parent. She knows her own weakness meant Momiji was often left lonely, so she decided to become stronger for her sake. Becoming a hunter became her main goal. Sakura honestly believes that if she's strong enough, she'll be able to protect everyone she cares about, especially her sister. Sakura laughs at herself, saying maybe it sounds a little silly, but Takaru understands exactly where she's coming from. He jokes that people always told him he was luckier to have muscles than brains. Sakura wishes out loud for a world where they could all just live in peace for once. Right now, they never get a break. Takaru grins and says that kind of spirit is exactly why she's amazing. He pauses, looking like he wants to say something important. If he doesn't say it now, he might never get another chance. Takaru says he's genuinely glad he met Sakura. She looks surprised, not really understanding why he's telling her this now. He finally confesses that he thinks his memories might be returning soon. Sakura is startled to hear it, But he adds that if that happens, all these moments together might just disappear. In truth, he tells her, he's not really the real Kusanagi Takaru right now. Sakura looks at Kusanagi with real sympathy. She knows amnesia is no joke, and Takaru completely gets where she's coming from. Still, she smiles and tells him that even if he ever forgets her, she'll still consider him her friend. Takaru can't help but feel grateful for those words, and he smiles back. After that, another awkward silence falls between them. Sakura wonders what they're actually supposed to do next as friends. Takaru is just as confused, staring at her as she stares right back with the same blank look. In the end, both of them pull out their phones and start searching up what exactly friends are supposed to do together. Takaru suggests maybe they can try dropping the formalities, and Sakura does her best to go along with it. She feels a little shaky at first, but she figures that's probably just Momiji's influence rubbing off on her. The next day, Takaru meets up with his old acquaintance, who greets him with a big smile and wishes him a good morning. The guy is practically glowing, talking about how nice the weather is, even though he says it'd be a shame if it rained. He figures this must be Takaru's first time in Niigata and remembers how long it's been since he's been there himself. Back in the day, there were tons of delicious little eateries, and the grass was way greener. Without wasting any time, he suggests they get moving and check out the famous Yusuji Kikyu. As Takaru and his overly chatty guide head toward Mount Yomo, meanwhile, something much more interesting is starting to unfold on the snowy sacred mountain of Yomo. Somewhere deep in the mountains, a mysterious long-haired girl sits quietly in a remote temple, carefully tying the ribbon on her ponytail. Meanwhile, Takaru and his companion are climbing steadily up the mountain path. By now, Takaru feels like they've already made it pretty high. His body even feels a bit lighter, probably from the altitude. As he looks around, he suddenly senses it. The entire forest is thick with mana, the air almost buzzing with power. The guy leading the way turns and grins, happy Takaru finally picked up on it. He explains that these mountains are a prime spot for building temples, but it's not just about tradition. There's something else. He describes the area as a kind of portal, one that links to worlds beyond just regular gates. He says Takaru must have heard those old tales about demons showing up in places like this, their stories wrapped in legend. Takaru laughs it off, saying it sounds more like the plot of a manga or a game than anything real. His friend scrambles up another slope and calls back that, honestly, most stories start the same way. There's always a bit of truth hidden inside. But still, the place is dangerous. Only hunters with serious class know these paths even exist. Takaru wonders why his friend is telling him all this. The guy just shrugs and says since Takaru is basically an honorary member of their club now, there's no harm in letting him in on the secret. That actually makes sense to Takaru, and he nods along. Neither of them notices that as they climb, a shadowy figure watches their every move from higher up on the slope, keeping a silent eye on them as they pass. The club member keeps it casual as he tells Takaru not to worry about monsters showing up. If anything appears, they'll handle it on the spot. He reminds Takaru that while there are plenty of exorcists across Japan, the Yusuji family always stood apart. For 200 years, that family protected the country from supernatural threats, earning respect from everyone in the know. But Takaru catches on that his friend keeps using the past tense, and soon gets the reason. The entire Yusuji clan was wiped out by a monster that once appeared right here on this mountain. As they reach the edge of a cliff with a sweeping view of the range, Takaru's friend pauses to explain. The beast was only sealed away thanks to Tsubasa, Kikyu's older sister, who gave her own life to keep it contained. Takaru pieces it together, realizing that Kikyu must be the only survivor. His friend confirms it, and adds that she's the one maintaining the seal even now, carrying that weight alone. That's probably why stories about her are so rare and always seem a little heavy. After sharing all this, Takaru wonders aloud what Kikyu is actually like in person. In the magazine photos, she looks calm and gentle, but the club member's reaction is immediate. He can't believe Takaru is talking about Kikyu that way. He grabs Takaru by the shoulders, eyes wide, and makes him repeat what he just said. With a hint of panic, he tells Takaru to listen up. Because of his family's connections, he's known Kikyu since they were kids, and there's one thing he insists on: no matter how cute she looks, that girl is a demon in disguise. Calm on the outside, but deep down, she's the real deal, a total menace if you ever cross her. While Soma is busy warning Takaru about the girl's demonic nature, Takaru suddenly spots a silhouette armed with a sword right behind his friend. He calls out, telling Soma to look out, just as the mysterious figure launches an attack. Soma's reflexes kick in, and he blocks the strike with his weapon. Smirking, the attacker calls him by name, and admits his defense isn't bad at all. Standing in front of them now is none other than Kikyu, the S-class hunter known as the God of War. She casually notes that Soma's training has been paying off, tossing out a half-praise as if they've sparred before. Soma tries to say something to her, but she doesn't slow down. She swings her blade again, saying there's no time for small talk. Soma fends off every strike, feeling the weight behind her attacks. He grins and teases that he should dock her a point for making him comment on her strength, hinting that she clearly overheard his earlier remark about her being a monster among monsters. Kikyu doesn't miss a beat. She elbows him straight in the stomach, making it clear she heard everything. Soma crashes against a rock, realizing she's way more intense than he remembered. Kikyu taps her blade on her shoulder and shoots him a look, letting him know he's in for it today. She coolly tells him he's pretty rough, but her smirk shows she's enjoying every second of this showdown. Meanwhile, Soma slides down the wall and hits the ground hard, looking completely outmatched. The sight makes Takaru roll his eyes. She just handled Soma like a little kid. Kikyu turns her attention to Takaru, pointing her blade at him and declaring that if he wants to go any further, he better show his strength. Takaru sidesteps her opening strike with sharp reflexes. She immediately notices he's on another level compared to the usual hunters. She goes in for a series of fast blows, and Takaru blocks each one, reinforcing his arm with magic. It's obvious he's waiting for the right moment and has plenty of fighting experience. Kikyu keeps the pressure on, but Takaru holds steady, letting her get just close enough. Suddenly, he knocks her blade aside with his bare hand and goes in for a palm strike. But Kikyu isn't caught off guard. She flips her katana up with a hidden move, catching Takaru's arm and drawing blood. As she raises her katana above her head, the blade erupts with shadowy flames, a signature move called Kagetora. Takaru quickly realizes this is something he can't pull off himself. Kikyu smirks and slashes her flaming sword down at Takaru, but he smoothly slides his hand along the blade, instantly dispelling her skill. Kikyu's eyes widen as her weapon shatters into glowing shards. Takaru grabs one midair and swings it right back at her. But then, Kikyu's whole vibe shifts. Her eyes go cold as she points a shard back at Takaru and calls him a strange word. The sudden chill in her gaze rattles him, and he jumps back, unsettled. Takaru doesn't get what just happened, but Kikyu quickly relaxes and laughs it off, apologizing for pushing things too far. She admits that if they kept going, this fight would probably get out of hand for both of them. She admits right away that Takaru is stronger than she expected. He's passed her test. Takaru, a bit lost, asks what test she's talking about, so Kikyu explains, going any further up these mountains is way too dangerous for weaklings. She figures he must be the same friend of Soma's, who's always bragging about his strength. To prove it, Kikyu flashes him a letter from Soma, where he'd hyped up Takaru's skills and mentioned they'd be visiting together. With that settled, Kikyu summons her spirit companion, a sturdy, horned beast that looks like a half-ram, half-mountain dog. The fuzzy creature picks up the still unconscious Soma and carries him off without complaint. As they all head toward her place, Kikyu strikes up a conversation and finds out that Takaru isn't even an official hunter, just a civilian. That definitely catches her off guard. She presses him, wanting to know why he's climbed all the way up here. At first, Takaru hesitates, but then he opens up. He explains that he came to this mountain to get rid of a spirit that's been haunting him. Whatever happened to him before cost him his memories, but left him with weird abilities. Even though he's changed, he still wants to go back to being a normal guy. Kikyu listens closely, almost amused, and points out that nothing about him seems normal. Takaru figures she'd understand. She fights alongside spirits herself, after all, but Kikyu laughs and says it's not quite the same. She stops and looks Takaru in the eye, checking if he's truly serious about exorcising the spirit. He's firm. This is what he wants. Pleased with his resolve, Kikyu invites him to her family estate to talk through the plan in detail. By nightfall, Takaru is soaking in a hot spring, exhausted from the trek. He remembers how the whole village turned out to greet them, excited to finally have visitors again. Some of the locals tease Kikyu about bringing home a fiancé, while others just shake their heads at Soma, passed out as usual. Kikyu gathers everyone and asks the villagers to give their guests a warm welcome. Takaru sits in the steamy hot spring. Back in the other world, he never saw skies like this. Maybe they didn't even have the same kind of stars. Or maybe the whole universe just worked differently over there. The cultures might be different too, but the similarities keep catching him off guard. Even hot springs are a thing here, and he's not complaining. His mind drifts back to that one embarrassing day, when he accidentally wandered into the springs while one of the girls was already inside. She'd spotted him right away and hurled a bar of soap at his head, calling him a pervert, and reminding him she'd warned him to check first. Takaru bolted out of there, apologizing the whole way, but the memory still sticks with him. Some things you just can't forget. Lost in thought, he hears a noise behind him and assumes Soma must finally be awake. But when he glances over his shoulder, he spots a female figure, and his heart skips a beat. Takaru ducks quickly behind a big rock, trying to stay hidden. Out by the edge of the hot spring, Kikyu appears, wrapped in nothing but a towel, crouching gracefully on the stones. She casually brushes her hair back and slips her feet into the water, looking completely at ease. Meanwhile, Takaru keeps as still as possible behind his hiding spot, hand clamped over his mouth. He has no clue why nobody warned him about anyone else using the hot spring tonight, or how she hasn't noticed him yet. Now he's just hoping he can figure out how to get out of there before she does. Takuro realizes he needs to get out of the hot spring fast before things get any more awkward. He tries to stay as quiet as possible, pressed up against the rock, while just a few feet away, Kikyu crouches in the water, hugging her legs to her chest. She seems lost in thought, quietly scolding herself for how bad she is at dealing with people. Still, she keeps telling herself to push forward, for her family's sake. With her fist clenched, she gives herself a quiet pep talk, but it's clear the pressure is getting to her. While Kikyu works through her self-doubt, Takuro still sits frozen behind his rock, hand clamped over his mouth, barely daring to breathe. He risks a peek and notices that Kikyu seems way more vulnerable than she did earlier in the day. But suddenly, Kikyu senses something off. She jumps up, startled, and instantly forms a sword out of magic, gripping it tight. Takuro gets caught completely off guard, standing face to face with her, both of them frozen in embarrassment. He's so flustered he can't even get a word out, just staring back at Kikyu's wide, tearful eyes. That night, her shriek echoes through the hot springs, loud enough for the entire village to hear. The next morning, Kikyu greets Takuro cheerfully, acting as if nothing ever happened. She flashes a bright smile, glad to see he's finally awake. Takuro notices she's back to her usual self, but it's obvious she's teasing when she asks if he remembered seeing her naked. Takuro quickly denies it, still mortified by last night's disaster, and tries to apologize, but Kikyu laughs it off and admits she was just joking. She says she's just as much to blame. Moving on, Kikyu suggests it's time for Takuro to learn more about the spirit that's been possessing him. She asks him to sit down across from her and close his eyes, focusing on the sound of his heartbeat. Then, she tells him to imagine looking at himself from outside his body. She's a little surprised by how quickly Takuro follows her instructions, already locked in and ready to go. Kikyu instantly notices Takuro's insane level of concentration. He's tuned out everything around him, totally focused. Just like she expected from Soma's friend, this guy is ridiculously disciplined. Kikyu sits down across from him, thinking about how her family can see spirits because they've worshipped the gods for generations. She already knew Takuro was holding something back, but honestly, he doesn't come across as a liar at all. Lost in her thoughts, Kikyu gently placed her hand over Takuro's chest. Then she quietly leans her forehead against his, telling him to look deep inside himself as she closes her own eyes. Without even realizing it, Kikyu finds herself somewhere else, inside a bright, wide-open field. The sky above is perfect blue, and a light breeze drifts across a sea of colorful wildflowers. It's a place that feels peaceful and quiet, almost unreal, but there's still an undercurrent of sadness woven into it. As she soaks in the scenery, a sudden chill sweeps over her. She senses a dark, heavy presence behind her and whips around, just in time to see a decapitated man looming with a massive sword gripped in his right hand. Kikyu reacts on pure instinct, grabbing for her own weapon and bracing herself. Without wasting a second, Kikyu introduces herself as an incarnation of Bishamon and goes for his right arm, aiming to sever it along with the blade he's holding. She moves with lightning speed, but the demon matches her, blocking her attack in a flash. Their weapons clash, and suddenly Kikyu gets a flood of terrible visions, horrors from her past. The demon's severed head twists into a nightmarish grin, jagged teeth shining out of the shadow. With a guttural voice, the creature commands Kikyu to get out of his realm and shoves her backward, sending a shock through the whole dreamscape. At that moment, Takuro feels something shift in front of him and slowly cracks open his eyes. He sees Kikyu collapsing right near his lap, looking completely rattled. Takuro, totally thrown off, looks at her for answers, but before he can say a word, Kikyu grabs her blade, eyes flashing with tension. Sensing a sudden surge of power, her spirit demands to know what Takuro's real purpose is for coming here. Without warning, she swings her blade at him, and Takuro barely manages to stammer out a plea to wait. Thinking fast, he fires off a burst of magic, blowing a hole straight through the roof and launching himself outside. Kikyu doesn't hesitate, chasing right after him, shouting that he's not getting away that easily. Takuro bolts across the ground, realizing in a panic that this girl is seriously trying to take his head off. He fires off chunks of earth magic in her path, but Kikyu just slashes through the flying boulders like they're nothing. Before he can even get his bearings, she's already right in front of him, swinging to finish things. He barely has time to throw up a magic shield, but her attack still rattles him. In that moment, Takuro realizes just how outclassed he is. This is hands down the strongest hunter he's ever fought. He knows he can't hold anything back anymore, and apologizes as a magic seal lights up around his hand. Channeling a burst of wind, Takuro manages to launch Kikyu backward, but she's quick to recover, stabbing her blade into the ground to break her slide. Landing softly, Kikyu notices a small ribbon tumbling loose from her hand, fluttering away in the breeze. She reaches out, but the wind picks up, blowing the ribbon just out of reach. Takuro lands carefully, seeing Kikyu collapsed on her knees, not even trying to get up. As he approaches, he notices she's completely still, then she suddenly falls forward, crying hard. She sobs out that the ribbon blowing away was her last keepsake from her sister, and if she loses it, she doesn't even know what will become of her. The more she tries to speak, the harder she cries, and Takeru's heart sinks at the sound. He apologizes, genuinely flustered, but Kikyu just keeps sobbing, her shoulders shaking, the grief pouring out louder and louder. Meanwhile, far away in the sealed lands, a man with a massive sword strapped across his back finally finds what he's looking for, a giant stone pillar tangled with the roots of an ancient tree. He steps closer, exclaiming at the sheer size of it, but his excitement doesn't last. From behind, a stranger's voice warns him that he's entered forbidden territory. The adventurer, not backing down, grips his sword and tells the stranger to lighten up. He's just here to free an old friend, and after all his travels, he expected a better welcome. Without warning, he swings his sword at the mysterious figure, who doesn't even flinch. Suddenly, a dark aura flares up, freezing him in place, completely unable to move. The girl with dark hair smirks, reminding him that she had already warned him, this place is off limits. One of the men says their family's path has always led here, and now, turning back isn't an option. The old man beside him agrees, telling the group it's finally their turn. Most can barely believe something like this exists in their own era, though a few seem less surprised by the sight. While the group murmurs about what they've just witnessed, the head of the Yasuji family, Tsubaki, steps forward with a calm smile and reminds everyone to focus. They're here for a reason. Right then, a child's voice echoes from behind, calling for her sister and the rest of the group. It's little Kikyu, clutching her lamb plushie and crying. The old man next to Tsubaki gently orders Kikyu to go on ahead, reminding her they're running out of time. Tsubaki turns to her, her smile softening. She realizes she forgot to give her little sister something important. Tsubaki kneels, calls Kikyu over, and begins braiding the younger girl's hair, carefully tying it back with a ribbon. When she finishes Kikyu's ponytail, Tsubaki pulls her in for a tight hug, gushing that her little sister is absolutely the cutest in the world. Even with her hair pulled back, Kikyu's just adorable, and the older sister can't help but squeeze her even more. Kikyu, still flustered, tries to wriggle away, but Tsubaki just laughs, saying she's too clingy. She encourages Kikyu to express her feelings, reminding her that if she's too shy for words, she can always show her feelings through actions. Tsubaki thanks Kikyu for always worrying about her. As she finally lets go, she raises her fist with a confident grin, swearing that everything will be alright, she's the strongest, and she'll handle anything that comes her way. She promises that she'll live long enough to see her little sister get married. Kikyu explains to Takeru that her older sister was like the sun, people just naturally gravitated toward her. Even though Kikyu tried to act brave around Tsubaki, she always felt shy in her shadow. But that day, everything changed. The Yasuji family's monster pacification squad left and never returned. Without the clan's protection, the mountain became too dangerous, and all the local residents were forced to leave. Sorrow hung heavily over everyone, but none more than Kikyu, who wished it had been her instead of her sister who was lost. Takeru doesn't know what to say to all that but gently suggests that maybe things weren't as hopeless as she thinks. The Yasuji always had a reason for leaving the mountain, but Kikyu couldn't bring herself to explain it. She just didn't want to give anyone another reason to leave. Deep down, she blames herself for not being strong enough to protect everyone. As the last member of the Yasuji clan, the weight of carrying on her family's duty feels crushing, and she quietly doubts if she's really up to it. To cope, Kikyu tries to act more like her older sister, hoping that someday she'll grow into that role. Her sister's ribbon is her one source of strength, a reminder to keep going. Takeru feels her pain like a blade twisting in his chest. Kikyu clenches her hands and admits she's completely lost without her sister, and honestly hates the person she's become. Hearing that, Takeru relates, he opens up, telling her that he used to get bullied too. There was a time when he just wanted to run away from everything, to become anyone else. He hated the life he had. Kikyu looks at him with disbelief. She can't imagine someone as strong as him struggling like that. But Takeru only smiles, explaining that what changed everything for him was meeting people who actually saw and accepted him. Kikyu's eyes soften, and she nods. She really gets it. Takeru managed to find some incredible people who changed his life. That's all anyone could hope for. Later, Soma comes over and greets Takeru, guessing that he's already been up and about since early morning. Soma wants to practice his control magic and repair the entrance to the dojo. Takeru thanks him and says he's way better at that stuff than he is. He hints that Soma shouldn't have bothered with all those letters, and Soma just laughs, saying he knows Kikyu was annoyed at first, even if she tried to hide it. Soma admits that she's actually a lonely person who really needed someone to spar with. He gives Takeru a pointed look, hinting that he could use a good training partner. 2. Soma gets ready for a run and invites Takeru to join him, but Takeru declines. He's got something else to do today. Soma says goodbye and suggests they spar next time. Watching him go, Takuru can't help but think this guy's got an interesting way of doing things. He decides to try his best to keep up. Takuru walks down to the river and sits on a rock, sighing heavily. He wonders how he'll ever find that missing ribbon. He has no clue where to start. Looking at his reflection in the water, he wonders if maybe, if his soul was as pure as Kikyu's, the ribbon would just come to him. The thought lingers, but something dark nags at him. Maybe there's still something evil inside his soul after all. Just then, Kikyu appears and quietly apologizes, admitting that the thing inside Takuru attacked her, and she's sorry for that. Takuru smiles, brushing off the whole incident, and saying the important thing is that Kikyu is unharmed. She still can't wrap her head around how he escaped without a scratch, even though she had gone all out with her attacks. Takuru admits he has no idea either, and even wonders aloud if maybe there's another soul hidden inside him, but Kikyu shakes her head. Two souls sharing a body is impossible, she explains. Borrowing the power of spirits is one thing, it's not the same as possession. If a new soul actually appeared in someone's body, something bad would happen, the original soul would get pushed out. Hearing this, Takuru starts to piece things together. If that's the case, he wonders, then what really happened to the original Kusanagi Takuru's soul? While he's lost in thought, his eyes land on a small fox watching him from across the clearing. The fox meets his gaze, then turns and starts walking up the mountainside, pausing to look back and wag its tail, clearly beckoning him to follow. Takuru gets up and trails after the fox. They wend their way deeper into the mountain until the fox crouches beside a rock, pawing at it. Takuru kneels down and spots Kikyu's missing ribbon sitting right there on the stone. Excited, he snatches it up and calls out, recognizing it instantly. He turns to thank the fox, who, to his surprise, answers him in a clear human voice. She asks if he'll return the favor. A little thrown off, Takuru asks what he can do for her. The fox eyes him and comments that he isn't even fazed to hear a talking animal. Takuru just shrugs, explaining this isn't his first time chatting with a non-human. The fox, slightly bored, apologizes for her lack of dramatic flair, then brings up Kikyu. She points out that Takuru had a girl with him earlier and tells him plainly, all she wants in return is for him to protect Kikyu. Takuru remembers what Soma told him, not just about Kikyu's strength, but about how she still needs someone around, if only as a sparring partner. The fox seems to understand, flashing him a sly smile and giving herself a bit of praise for just happening to find the ribbon. Takuru narrows his eyes, a little suspicious, but the fox just waves him off, telling him to take care of Kikyu and not to dwell on it. She has one last request, don't tell Kikyu about her. With that, she dissolves into a swirl of mist, vanishing before his eyes. For a second, Takuru just stands there, processing what happened. He didn't expect that fox to be able to use teleportation magic, and it throws him for a loop. At that moment, Kikyu arrives, spotting Takuru and immediately noticing the ribbon in his hands. She guesses he must have been looking for it this whole time. Takuru grins and tells her it's all in one piece. Kikyu takes the ribbon from him, and as soon as it's in her hands, tears well up in her eyes. Takuru watches in confusion as Kikyu suddenly hugs him, thanking him through her sobs. Takuru just smiles and says he's happy he could find it for her. Only then does Kikyu realize she's still got her arms around him. She pulls back, quickly tying her ponytail with the recovered ribbon, her cheeks flushed red. Embarrassed, she tries to play it cool, saying he probably enjoyed the hug. Takuru smirks, reminding her he's already seen her naked, and that nothing really surprises him at this point. Kikyu shakes her head, thinking the guy's hopeless, but maybe that's not so bad after all. Meanwhile, somewhere deeper in the forest, Tsubaki stands before a massive tree, staring up at its trunk. She reflects that she's waited a long time for this moment. Deep inside the tree, something monstrous screams, its voice echoing like a demon trapped underground. The creature wails that this shouldn't be possible, but Tsubaki tells it calmly that she's no longer alone. Her whole life, she believed it was her duty to protect her little sister, but that era is over. Now, she's decided to leave everything in Takuru's hands.